My son waited until I had a forkful of pot roast halfway to my mouth before he announced I was moving out of my own house. Cedar Glen can take him on the 28th, Evan said. That gives us 3.5 weeks. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at his wife, Paige, as if they were discussing where to put a sofa. My daughter, Leah, stopped cutting her carrots. I lowered my fork. Where are you planning to go? Evan gave a quick laugh. What? You said there's a move happening on the 28th. I'm asking where you plan to go. The laugh disappeared, but the confidence stayed. That was the part I remember most. My son looked surprised that I had spoken, not worried that he had gone too far. Dad, he said, you're going to Cedar Glen. No. One small word. Nothing knocked over. Nobody shouted. Yet Paige's face changed in a way that told me I was the only person at that table who had not known my life had already been rearranged. Sunday dinner had been my idea, although by then most of my ideas had to be approved by a committee I had never appointed. I had made the roast because Paige didn't care for ham, the potatoes because Evan said rice wasn't a proper Sunday side, and the carrots because Leah had spent 37 years pretending to like them for my sake. She always ate exactly 3. That night, she had cut the first one into 6 pieces and hadn't swallowed any of them. The roast sat in the middle of the table, in the blue stoneware dish I'd bought after my divorce. It had a crack near one handle, and Evan had been trying to throw it away for 2 years. It's going to split while you're carrying it, he always said. Then I'll carry it over the sink. You can buy another dish. I can also keep this one. That was the sort of disagreement we knew how to have. Evan put both palms on the table. At 41, he had my hands, but his mother's way of spreading them flat when he meant to close a subject. We already talked about this. No, you talked about this. You toured the place. I ate a chicken salad there. And you liked it. The salad, Cedar Glen. It was clean. The coffee was terrible. Leah looked at me then, not startled, searching. That bothered me more. Paige reached for her water and missed the glass by an inch. Evan said you'd agreed. Evan turned to her. He did. I did not. You said you could see yourself there, someday. Well, someday has to be a day, Dad. That's very philosophical. Normally, Paige would have laughed. She had a sharp, unwilling laugh that always sounded like it had escaped against her better judgment. This time she folded her napkin, then folded it again. Evan leaned back. The stairs aren't getting easier. My bedroom is downstairs. The laundry isn't. You've seen me carry a basket. I've also seen you miss the last step. Once, in socks. You had shoulder surgery 18 months ago. And who took you to every appointment? There it was, not the whole thing, but the edge of it. The bill he'd been keeping without telling me. I remember who took me, I said. Do you? Paige said his name quietly. No, I want to understand this. He looked around the table, inviting everyone into a conversation that seemed to have happened without me. We're acting like I dragged him down there and left him at the curb. Cedar Glen is nice. It has a gym, meals, card nights, a shuttle. I have a truck. You shouldn't be driving at night. I don't drive at night. Exactly. Leah put her knife down. Maybe everybody could slow down. I turned to her. When did you hear about this? Her eyes went briefly toward Evan. That was enough. Tuesday, she said, 4 days earlier. I pictured Tuesday afternoon. Me in the garage cleaning an old bench vise. Evan inside telling my daughter where I would be living by the end of the month. And what did he tell you? That you toured it, that you were thinking it over. I told you he agreed, Evan said. No, Leah replied. You told Paige he agreed. You told me he was thinking it over. Evan stared at her. That's the same basic conversation. It's 2 very different verbs. Under other circumstances, I might have enjoyed that. Leah edited medical manuals for a living and could make grammar sound like a weapon, but she still hadn't answered the question underneath my question. Why didn't you ask me? I said. She looked at the untouched pieces of carrot. I thought you would tell me when you were ready. That's generous. It's true. No, it's polite. Those aren't always the same thing. She flinched, and I regretted it immediately. Not enough to take it back, apparently, but enough to hear the cruelty in my own calm voice. Paige pushed away from the table. I need a minute. Evan caught her wrist, not hard, but with the absent familiarity of somebody stopping a drawer from closing. We need to finish this. I'm not the one who started it. You knew we had to tell him. Her face hardened. Tell him what? Evan released her. I had known Paige for 9 years. She was organized without being tidy. She left coffee cups everywhere, but could remember the expiration date on a bottle of salad dressing she had bought 6 months before. When she and Evan moved in, she labeled 3 kitchen shelves with blue painter's tape, then apologized and removed the labels. A week later, Evan put them back. Now she looked at him as if she had just found a label with her own name on it. "You said Martin wanted to move," she said. "He does. He's just scared." I laughed once. I didn't mean to. Evan looked at me. "What's funny? You explaining my feelings to your wife while I'm sitting here. I'm trying to help." "No. You're trying to win." His face reddened from the collar upward, the way it had since he was young. "Win what?" "The privilege of spending 2 years fixing this place while you act like nothing needs to change. I didn't ask you to rebuild the back steps. They were rotting. I know. You could have broken your neck. I thanked you. That's not the point. I'm starting to see that," Leah whispered. "Dad." It was a warning. She had been giving me warnings in that tone for years, usually when Evan was close to losing his temper, or when their mother was about to say something she couldn't pull back. I had always appreciated Leah's timing. I had never asked what it cost her to keep watching everyone's gauges. Evan stood. His chair scraped the hardwood, catching in the pale groove it had made over the previous 2 years. "You know what?" he said. "Fine. Let's be honest. You can't keep up with this house. You use 4 rooms. The rest of it sits here because you're too stubborn to make a decision. I made a decision. Based on what? The fact that I live here. We live here too. For now." That landed harder than I expected. Paige closed her eyes. Leah stared at me. Evan remained standing, but something in his posture dropped. He said, "What does that mean?" "It means you told me there was a move happening on the 28th. I'm agreeing with you on that much. You're throwing us out. You were here for 6 months. That was 2 years ago. I'm aware. You asked us to stay after your surgery. I asked you to stay until I could use my arm. And then what? We were supposed to guess when you were done with us? No. I was supposed to say it." The room went quiet. That answer surprised him. It surprised me too. For 11 years, I had treated silence like a form of kindness. My marriage had ended in noise, doors, accusations, a drinking glass broken in the sink, and afterward I came to believe that a peaceful house was a good house. When Evan and Paige moved in, the place filled with footsteps and cabinet doors, and Paige arguing with podcasts while she cooked. Evan's boots appeared beside mine. Somebody noticed when the furnace made a strange sound. Somebody asked if I needed anything from the store. 6 months became 8, then 12. Every time I thought about raising the subject, Evan fixed something. First the back steps, then the gutter over the garage, then the loose outlet in the den. Gratitude kept postponing the conversation, and loneliness helped. But those were facts I could barely admit to myself. I wasn't going to hand them across the dinner table while the gravy was cooling. Evan sat down slowly. "So this is punishment?" "No, because I found you a safe place to live. Because you found me a place to live without asking if I wanted to leave." "I did ask. You arranged an open lunch and said there was free pie. There was free pie. It wasn't very good." Paige made a sound that might have been a laugh or a breath breaking in the wrong place. Evan pointed at me. "You told the woman there you liked the 1-bedroom. The woman asked whether I liked it. I wasn't going to insult her carpeting. You stood by the window for 10 minutes. It had a nice view. You said you could imagine sitting there. I can imagine sitting in the White House. Don't call movers." Leah covered her mouth, but I saw the smile. Evan saw it too. "I'm glad this is entertaining," he said. "It isn't," she replied. "But you called movers, Evan, not officially. What does unofficially calling movers look like?" I got an estimate for his furniture, for the things he'd want. I felt something cold move through me. Which things? Evan hesitated. That was when the incident stopped feeling ridiculous. Until then, some stubborn part of me had believed he had gotten carried away with an idea. Evan did that. He could turn a loose porch board into a weekend rebuild and a conversation about cholesterol into 3 printed meal plans. But he had decided which pieces of my life I would want. He looked toward the living room. Your recliner, the television, bedroom set, some kitchen stuff, my books. They have a library, my records. Dad, there's no room for all that. The workbench. He blinked. Why would you take a workbench to Cedar Glen? I stared at him. Behind him, through the doorway, I could see the edge of my recliner beside the window. or where the window used to be visible. Evan's exercise machine stood in front of it now, black handles rising like antlers. Paige got up. This time, he didn't stop her. "I'm going for a drive," she said. "I thought we were finishing this." "You finished it before dinner." She took her purse from the hook near the back door. It was the hook where I used to keep my truck keys until she added a little basket for everyone's keys because, according to her, hooks encourage chaos. The door shut behind her. Evan looked at me as if I had sent her away. Leah rose and started gathering plates. "Leave them," I said. She kept going. "I'd rather do something with my hands." Evan watched her carry the roast into the kitchen. "You've been waiting for this, haven't you?" I looked at him. For what? A reason. A reason to stay in my house? To make me the bad guy? I wanted to tell him he was doing fine without my help. The sentence reached my teeth and stopped there. That restraint felt less like virtue than exhaustion. Instead, I picked up the blue serving dish. The crack near the handle had widened. A thin line of gravy had seeped through and darkened the tablecloth underneath. Evan noticed it too. "I told you, that thing was going to split," he said. I carried it toward the sink with both hands. "Behind me," he said. "I'm not moving out in 3 weeks." I set the dish down carefully. "Then we'll talk tomorrow," I said. "Why tomorrow?" "Because tonight you announced my future over pot roast." I turned around. My son was still at the table, surrounded by plates no one had finished, looking angry enough to leave and frightened enough to stay. "And tomorrow," I said. "You're going to tell me how long you've been planning it." Evan pushed his chair back again, but this time he didn't stand. "There's nothing to tell." "You contacted Cedar Glen." "Yes." "You took me there." "Yes." "You called movers." "I got an estimate. You made a list of my furniture." He rubbed both hands over his face. "You're making it sound sinister. I'm making it sound organized. That's what I do. I organize things." Leah came back from the kitchen and lifted his plate. "You reorganize things, usually things that already belong to somebody else. Thanks for the support." "I'm not supporting anybody." "You never do until it's safe." The plate tipped in her hand. Gravy slid toward the rim, but she caught it with her thumb. "Try that again," she said. Evan looked away. I should have stepped in. That was my role, at least the one I had assigned myself. Lower the temperature, translate the insult into something more respectable, get everybody out the door before the real injury occurred. Instead, I watched Leah carry his plate to the sink. She came back with a damp cloth and started dabbing the tablecloth where the serving dish had leaked. "Leave it overnight," I said. "It'll wash." Gravy sets. So does resentment, apparently. Her hand stopped. Evan gave me a look. "You've got jokes now. I've always had jokes. You usually explain them before anybody laughs." He stood. "I'm done. You haven't answered me. Tomorrow, remember?" "I remember. I want you sitting at this table at 9. I have work." "On Sunday?" "It's Monday tomorrow, Dad." That was embarrassing. Not because I didn't know what day followed Sunday, because his answer came so fast. I had always been good with dates, appointment cards, oil changes, birthdays. Since retirement, weekdays had begun arriving without much personality, and Evan knew it. He saw my face and softened for half a second. "I have that cabinet installed in Glendale," he said. "I told you." "No, you told Paige. You were in the room. That's not the same as telling me." The softness disappeared. "Fine. Tomorrow night, 6. If I'm back. 6:30. He gave a short nod and went upstairs. The house had carried sound strangely since he and Paige moved in. Their bedroom was above the den, so I knew when a drawer closed or one of them dropped a shoe. At first, those noises comforted me. That night, every footstep sounded like someone measuring the place. Leah took the tablecloth off and carried it to the laundry room. When she returned, I was wiping gravy off the tabletop. "You shouldn't have done that," she said. "Asked your brother a question? Given him 3 weeks in front of everybody." "He gave me 3 weeks. I know. Do you?" She leaned against the china cabinet. Leah had her mother's dark hair and my habit of putting her tongue against one cheek when she was choosing what not to say. "I knew Cedar Glen was being discussed," she said. "I didn't know about the movers. Discussed by whom?" "Evan. And me, once. Paige, I assumed. You, I thought. You thought. Yes. You didn't call." "No. Why?" She crossed her arms. "Because I didn't want this exact conversation. You could have prevented it." "No, Dad. I could have moved it to the phone. That would have been useful." "To you." There was a sharper edge in her voice than I was used to hearing, not louder. Leah almost never raised her voice. She made each word cleaner instead. I dropped the cloth beside the sink. What's that supposed to mean? It means you're calm when everybody else does the uncomfortable part first. I don't know what part you think you're doing. Right now, the part where I tell you that Evan has been talking about Cedar Glen for at least a month. A month. I looked toward the stairs. What did he say? He said you were getting tired of maintaining the house. He said you liked the idea of meals being handled. He said you were worried about becoming isolated. I'm not isolated. You see me most Sundays in the dentist twice a year. I have friends. Name one you've had dinner with this month. That isn't the point. It was apparently Evan's point. She turned and began stacking the clean plates from the drying rack, though none of them belonged in the stack she was making. You believed him, I said. I believed it was possible. That I wanted to leave, that you wanted something and didn't know how to say it. I watched her put a soup bowl on top of a dinner plate. I say what I want. She looked at the stack, took the bowl off, and laughed without humor. You say no after everybody gets tired of guessing yes. The words sat between us. Upstairs, a closet door rolled open. Leah lowered her voice. Do you remember when Mom wanted to move to Arizona? That was not a road I wanted to take. She never wanted to move to Arizona. She talked about it for 3 years. She talked about a lot of things. And you never said you wouldn't go. You nodded. You looked at houses online with her. You let her tell people you were considering it. I was considering it. No. You were waiting for her to realize you hated it. That was between your mother and me. It was in front of us. I turned on the faucet, although there was nothing left to rinse. Leah picked up her purse. I'm not saying Evan is right. What he did was awful, a useful qualification. I'm saying you can't act like he invented this family habit. She kissed my cheek. Her lips were cold. At the back door, she stopped. Don't put me in the middle tomorrow. I didn't. You asked why I didn't warn you. That's a question. It's a job. She left before I could answer. I stood in the kitchen with the faucet running until the pipes knocked. When I shut it off, the sudden quiet was worse. Paige came home at 11:20. I was in the den pretending to read. Her headlights moved across the ceiling, then disappeared. A minute later, she opened the back door with unusual care, as if she were entering somebody else's house. I heard the key basket rattle. She appeared in the doorway still wearing her coat. You're up. I've been up after 11 before, not on purpose. That's fair. She glanced toward the stairs. He's up there, I said. I know. He sent 9 messages. Anything good? The first one said, "Where are you?" The last one also said, "Where are you?" There was some variety in punctuation. That escaped laugh finally came. It was small, but it was hers. I closed the book. Did you know he called movers? No. Did you know he made a list? No. Did you know he was planning to take our bedroom? She frowned. Your bedroom. He said, "We'll finally have room." I didn't hear him say bedroom. He did. I believe you. The speed of her answer made me feel mean for asking. Paige took off her coat and draped it over the arm of the couch. He told me you two had talked. He said Cedar Glen was your idea, but you were nervous about making it official. What did you say? I asked if you were sure. Me or him? Him. I thought he had asked you. That's a lot of asking. That went around me. I know. She sat on the far end of the couch. The exercise machine blocked part of the streetlight, laying a crooked shadow across the rug. I found an apartment in October, she said. That surprised me. For you and Evan? That was the idea. What happened? He said it was too expensive for what it was. Everything is too expensive for what it is. It wasn't only that. She picked at a loose thread on her sleeve. He said, moving out now would leave you in trouble. I wasn't in trouble before you moved in. I said that. What did he say? That you didn't know how much he was doing. I looked around the den. Evan had mounted the television, replaced 2 outlets, and put the exercise machine together backward the first time. He had also started handling the yard, though I still mowed when he was busy. He checked the furnace filters because I forgot them. He ordered groceries on his phone and complained when I went to the store anyway. He did a lot. That was the problem with keeping score. The numbers could be accurate and still lie. Do you want us out? Paige asked. I took my time. Yes. She nodded once. Not tonight, I added. That's generous. It isn't meant to be. I know. She picked up her coat and went upstairs. I waited for voices. There were none. After a while, one drawer closed, then another. At 6 the next morning, I found Evan in the kitchen wearing work pants and one sock. He was drinking coffee from my red travel mug while searching the clean laundry basket for the other sock. "Have you seen the black ones?" he asked. "You own 20 black socks. None of them match. They're black. That's not matching." I poured coffee. He had made it too strong, as usual. "We need to talk," I said. "I have to leave in 10 minutes, then listen for 9. He found a sock, held it beside the one on his foot, and rejected it. "Paige says you want us out. I told both of you that." "No, you made some dramatic line at dinner. You announced I was moving. I was trying to make it easier." "For who?" He tossed the sock back into the basket. "You've been saying this house is too much. I said the leaves were too much. You said the property tax was ridiculous." "It is. You said you were sick of cooking." "On Thursday." "Every concern you have becomes a joke, Dad. Then when somebody takes you seriously, you act ambushed." I drank the coffee and let the bitterness stay in my mouth. "You have 6 weeks," I said. He stopped searching. "Last night it was 3. 3 was anger. 6 is reasonable. Reasonable would be letting us stay until we find something. 6 weeks is time to find something, and if we don't, you will. You don't know that. No, I know you." He stared at me, and for the first time since dinner, he looked less angry than hurt. "You always said this place would be mine, when I'm gone. Right. I'm still here, Evan." He grabbed his boots from beside the back door and sat to pull them on. "So that's it?" he asked. "Everything I've done, and I get 6 weeks? You don't get the house's payment for loving me." His hands froze on the laces. "That's what you think this is? I don't know what this is. That's why I asked how long you've been planning it." He tied one boot, then the other, pulling hard enough that the leather creaked. "At first," he said, "since Cedar Glen. That was 6 weeks ago." "I know. And after I said someday, you didn't say someday there. You said you could see yourself in that apartment." "I was standing in the apartment." He rose and took his jacket from the hook. "I thought you were giving me a way out," he said. "Out of what?" Evan opened the door. He looked past me, toward the stairs where Paige was still sleeping. "Out of being the only person who notices you need anything." Then he left, taking my red travel mug with him. The red mug had a lid that leaked if you tilted it too far. Evan knew that. He had complained about it 3 separate mornings and once ordered a replacement seal that didn't fit. I hoped it leaked on his shirt. That was the first truly childish thought I had, and I enjoyed it more than I should have. I drank the rest of my coffee at the kitchen table. The laundry basket sat where Evan had left it, black socks draped over the edge like exhausted flags. I considered carrying it upstairs. Then I considered dumping it in the driveway. I did neither. At 8, Paige came down wearing gray sweatpants and one of Evan's old work shirts. She saw the basket, closed her eyes, and took it upstairs without a word. When she returned, I had eggs in a skillet. "Want some? I don't think I can eat." "That's never stopped an egg." She sat at the counter. "Did you sleep?" "Enough." "You were awake when I got home, and I heard you walking around at 4. That was the furnace." The furnace was wearing slippers? I divided the eggs anyway and put a plate in front of her. She stared at them, then reached for the pepper. "Evan told me you gave us 6 weeks. I did. He also said you accused him of charging you for loving you. That's a creative summary. Did you say it?" "More or less." "Then it's a fairly accurate summary." She ate one bite and set down her fork. I said, "Do you think I'm wrong? I think Evan does love you. That wasn't the question." "I know." She turned the pepper shaker between her hands. It was shaped like a small wooden lighthouse, a gift from Leah that worked badly and looked worse. "I think he convinced himself this was for you," she said. "That doesn't mean it was. Did you want the house?" Her head came up. "No, not even a little. I wanted a second bathroom. That's honest. I wanted a kitchen where I didn't have to ask before throwing away a sponge that smells like a pond. That sponge has another week. It has developed a government." I almost smiled. Paige looked toward the den, where the black handles of Evan's exercise machine rose above the couch. "But no. I didn't want your house. You picked paint for the upstairs bedroom because the walls were the color of nicotine. I never smoked. The color had aspirations." She smiled, then looked down at her eggs. "I thought we were making the space livable while we stayed," she said. Somewhere along the way, Evan started talking like we were making it ours. I should have stopped him sooner, so should I. That surprised her. You're not going to say you didn't notice? I noticed pieces. Pieces were easy to ignore. Paige replacing the kitchen curtains because mine made the room look tired. Evan moving my records from the den to the hall closet because the shelves could hold his work files. Their new sectional arriving, while my old couch went to a donation center. I had agreed to all of it, or failed to disagree clearly enough to matter. I had even helped carry the couch outside. I liked having you here, I said, past tense. I still like having you here. I don't like being informed that I'll be leaving. Her eyes filled, but she blinked before anything fell. I'm sorry, I believed her. That did not make the 6 weeks disappear. She pushed her eggs around. The apartment I found in October is gone. I assumed it would be. There's another one, smaller, above a bakery. That sounds dangerous. It smells like cinnamon at 5 in the morning. Exactly. I'm supposed to look at it Wednesday. Does Evan know? He knows I've been looking. That isn't what I asked. No. I leaned back. We seem to have a lot of conversations in this family that are missing one of the people involved. That's fair. Don't tell him I said that. She laughed, and this time it lasted long enough to become painful. After breakfast, Paige took a shower and shut herself in the upstairs office. I carried the stained tablecloth to the laundry room. Leah had treated the gravy spot with dish soap and left it soaking in a plastic basin. The stain had faded to a pale brown island. The blue serving dish remained in the sink. I turned it over. The crack ran from the handle halfway across the bottom. Evan had been right. Another hot roast probably would split it. I dried the dish and set it on top of the refrigerator. That was where I put things I wasn't ready to use or throw away. The den looked different once I stood there with the intention of seeing it. Evan's machine occupied the best part of the window. A stack of resistance bands lay on my side table. My reading chair had been moved near the hallway, where the light was worse, but people could get around it. The machine had small wheels on the front. I lifted the back, rolled it away from the window, and wedged it beside the television. It took up too much room there, but the curtains opened fully for the first time in months. Dust had gathered in a dark rectangle where the chair used to sit. I vacuumed, put the chair back, and found my floor lamp in the coat closet behind 2 folding chairs. By noon, the room looked less coordinated and more familiar. Paige came downstairs, stopped in the doorway, and examined the machine. Is that staying there? For 6 weeks. Evan's going to think you're sending a message. I am. The message is that I like the window. That is not the message he'll hear. I can't keep managing what he hears. She nodded, but she didn't look convinced. I spent the afternoon in the garage. Evan's sawhorses blocked the cabinet where I kept car wax and extension cords. Boxes of hinges were stacked on the workbench. My bench vise, the one I had cleaned the day he told Leah about Cedar Glen, sat on the concrete floor beside a bucket of drywall compound. I lifted it back onto the bench. It weighed more than I remembered, but my shoulder held. There was no fair line down the middle of the garage. Evan's work required space. Cabinet doors leaned against the wall, wrapped in moving blankets. A half-built drawer sat clamped on a table. My truck filled most of the left bay, and his materials filled most of the right. I moved the drywall bucket, cleared one end of the bench, and stopped. If I kept going, I wasn't reclaiming anything. I was disrupting work he had promised somebody else. That distinction mattered, even while I was angry. I found a roll of blue painter's tape in a drawer and put it back without using it. At 6:30, Paige had pasta warming on the stove. Evan had not returned. At 6:40, she checked her phone. At 7, she turned off the burner. He does this on installation days, she said. I know. He's not being rude. I didn't say he was. You looked at the clock. I'm capable of knowing the time on a Monday. She gave me a tired look. Sorry. At 7:16, Evan's truck pulled in. The garage door rattled upward, then stopped halfway. I heard it rise again. He came through the kitchen carrying my red mug. A brown streak ran down the front of his pale work shirt. The lid leaks, he said, setting it on the counter. So, I've heard. He looked past me into the den. You moved the machine. I moved my chair. You had to move the machine to move the chair. That is how objects work. I'm not doing this. You're already doing it. Paige took 3 plates from the cabinet. Can we eat before we argue? I'm not hungry. You told me at 5 you were starving. That was before the furniture moved. He looked at her. Whose side are you on? Paige put the plates down with careful precision. I'm going to pretend you didn't ask me that. Evan pulled off his jacket and tossed it over a counter stool. The install ran late. The wall was out by almost an inch, the client blamed me for it, and I spent 11 hours fixing somebody else's mistake. I don't want to come home and climb over exercise equipment because Dad decided to prove a point. You came home and walked through the kitchen, I said. That's not the point. It rarely is. Martin, Paige warned. I held up a hand. All right, we'll eat. Evan stared at me. I thought we were supposed to have some big meeting. We were. You moved it without me. The chair, the meeting, you were 46 minutes late. I was working. One message would have handled that. My hands were full. Paige held out his phone, which she had picked up from the counter. It says your screen time today was 4 hours and 12 minutes. He took it from her. That includes maps. Did the map prevent texting? He glared at her, then sat. We ate for several minutes without speaking. The pasta had gone soft. Paige had made a sauce with mushrooms, which Evan usually pushed to the edge of his plate. That night, he ate everyone as if refusing his own preferences would demonstrate something. Finally, I said, "This morning, you said you were the only person who noticed I need anything." He kept chewing. "What do you think I need?" "A safer house. Besides the answer you've already chosen." He set down his fork. "You forget furnace filters. You leave laundry downstairs because your shoulder hurts. You eat crackers for dinner if nobody cooks. Last month, you drove around for 3 days with the tire light on. It was a bad sensor. You didn't know that until I checked it. I would have checked it. When? I had no answer that wouldn't sound childish." He leaned forward. "This is what I mean. Leah comes once a week and thinks she knows everything. Paige makes sure there's actual food here. I fix whatever breaks. Then you stand in the middle of it, saying you're independent. I never said I don't need people. You act like needing people is something they do to you." The sentence hit close enough that I looked at Paige. She was studying her plate. I said, "Did you ever ask if I wanted you managing those things?" "No, because every time anybody asks how you are, you say you're fine. Maybe sometimes I am. And maybe sometimes you're eating peanut butter with a spoon. That was one dinner. It was 2. The first spoon was dirty." Paige's mouth twitched, but Evan didn't smile. I put my fork down. "I'm not asking you to stop caring. I'm asking you to stop treating care like permission." He looked toward the den. "By moving furniture. By giving you 6 weeks." Paige took a breath. "I'm looking at an apartment Wednesday." Evan's face changed. "The one above the bakery," she continued. "I want you to come. You found another place without telling me? I told you I was looking. You said you were browsing. I was. Then your father's moving date appeared over dinner." He glanced at me. "So now you two are working together." "No," Paige said. "We're finally having the same conversation. The apartment's probably a dump." "Maybe. That's why people look at apartments before deciding to live in them. We can do better than that." "With what?" He pushed his chair back. Paige didn't raise her voice. "I want a home where nobody can tell us to leave." I said nothing. Evan looked at me as if silence itself were another maneuver. Then he turned to Paige. "This is our home." She held his gaze. "No," she said. "That's the problem." Evan looked from Paige to me. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means Martin never said this was ours. He said we could stay. He said 6 months. He asked us to stay longer, after surgery. And then nobody said anything." Paige's eyes moved toward me. "That includes all 3 of us." I nodded. Evan let out a breath through his nose. "Great. Everybody's taking responsibility now that I'm the one getting blamed." "You made arrangements to move your father out," she said. "After talking to him. You talked around him. Don't use his words. They fit." He stood and carried his plate to the sink. For a moment, I thought he was going to wash it. Instead, he set it on top of the cracked serving dish, which I'd forgotten I had moved to the refrigerator. The plate clattered against the empty sink. "Where's the blue dish?" he asked. "Safe." He looked at me as if that answer proved something. Paige gathered the rest of the plates. "I'm going Wednesday at 5:30. If you want to come, come. I'm working. You're always working when the conversation isn't yours. That's not fair." "No. Fair would have been telling me I was helping you push your father out. I did not push him out. He's still here because he said no." Evan's face went pale beneath the red. "You think I'm some kind of monster. I think you made a terrible decision and then put my name on it." He turned to me. "Are you enjoying this?" "No, you look pretty comfortable. I'm sitting in my own chair at my own table. I'm getting reacquainted with both." He laughed once, grabbed his jacket, and went into the garage. The overhead door rose. His truck started, reversed out, and disappeared before the door had finished closing. Paige stood at the sink with her hands in soapy water. He took your mug again, she said. He brought it back. Small victories. She washed his plate first. I went to the den and sat by the window. The view was not remarkable. Across the street, Walter Donnelly's porch light had burned out again. A white sedan was parked too far from the curb. One of my shrubs needed trimming. Still, it was my window, and I had missed it. Evan came home after midnight. I didn't hear the truck, but I heard him wrestle the exercise machine away from the television. It bumped the wall once, followed by a word he would not have used at Sunday dinner. In the morning, the machine stood in the garage beside his sawhorses. My chair remained by the window. That felt less like a victory than a message I couldn't translate. The coffee maker was empty. Evan usually programmed it before bed. He also put the trash at the curb on Tuesdays, and the trash remained under the sink. I made coffee and carried the bags outside. One had a small tear in the bottom. Coffee grounds, onion skins, and something wet I chose not to identify fell across the driveway. I stood there in my slippers while a crow watched from the roof of my truck. You could help, I told it. The crow left. By the time I swept everything up, my coffee was cold. It was tempting to call Evan's behavior petty. It was also tempting to pretend I had never noticed the trash leaving by itself every Tuesday. Both would have been dishonest. At 10, my phone rang. Please don't ask me to talk to him, Leah said. Good morning to you too. I saw your name and wanted to establish terms. I'm not asking you to talk to anybody. Are you all alive? Your brother stole my coffee mug twice, so things are escalating. I looked at the red mug in the drying rack. I called to apologize. There was silence. Leah, I'm here. I thought I'd lost the call. You didn't. Okay. I sat at the kitchen table. Without the tablecloth, the wood showed pale rings left by hot dishes, and one dark mark from a candle holder my former wife had insisted wasn't hot. You were right Sunday, I said. I put you in the middle. You asked me a question. I called it a question because that sounded better than calling it an accusation. Another silence. Did Paige write this for you? She asked. No. Did you see a therapist between Sunday and Tuesday? I had eggs with Paige. That'll do it. I smiled in spite of myself. I'm sorry. Thank you. I also shouldn't have brought up your mother like you were responsible for that. You didn't bring her up. I did. I know. I'm getting ahead on apologies. Careful. You'll use up your supply. Her voice had softened, but not enough to let me off easily. I appreciated that more than I could tell her without making it another burden. I won't ask you to intervene, I said. If Evan calls, you can tell him you're staying out of it. He already called? Of course he did. He said you and Paige teamed up against him. We ate pasta. He left that part out. What did you tell him? That I wasn't discussing you without you there. The sentence embarrassed me because it was exactly what I should have expected from everyone in the first place. Thank you. I didn't do it for you. I did it because I'm tired. That's fair. She exhaled. Are you really making them leave? Yes. 6 weeks? Yes. And if he refuses? I haven't gotten that far. Dad, I'm serious. I'm trying to have one conversation before I silently prepare for the next 4. That's either growth or terrible planning, maybe both. Before hanging up, she asked whether Sunday dinner was still happening. I don't know, I said. You've had it every Sunday since the divorce, not the first Sunday. The first Sunday you ate cereal over the sink. You don't know that, Evan told me. I thought about my son calling his sister to tell her I had eaten cereal alone. I could not decide whether it was concern, evidence, or simply something he couldn't hold by himself. I'll let you know, I said. At noon, a woman named Diane called from Cedar Glen. Her voice had the practiced warmth of somebody who spent all day discussing difficult changes with families. She asked whether I had enjoyed the lunch. The chicken salad was good. I'm glad. We're finalizing our openings for next month. And your son mentioned you might want another look at Unit 12. My son was mistaken. A pause, then a different kind of warmth. I see. I'm not moving. That's absolutely your decision, Mr. Hale. The ease of her answer irritated me. Not because she had done anything wrong, but because the whole conflict fit into one clean sentence when spoken to a stranger. Did he reserve it? No. We don't reserve units without an application and deposit. He asked us to hold off showing it until he spoke with you, but we didn't agree to remove it from availability. So he didn't fill anything out for me? No, sir. Some part of me relaxed. Another part felt foolish for having imagined a stack of forms with my life compressed into checkboxes. Evan had overreached, but he had not forged me into an apartment. The distinction mattered. Thank you, I said. If you ever want to visit again on your own, you're welcome. I might? I meant it, which surprised me. After the call, I checked the furnace filter. It was gray enough to need replacing and clean enough that it probably could have waited another month. Evan had written the installation date on the cardboard edge in black marker. I drove to the hardware store and bought 2 filters, a new seal for the red mug and a sponge. The sponge was blue. I threw the old one away without ceremony. When I got home, the trash bag still sat by the curb. Collection had been delayed, which made my morning efforts feel less heroic. Paige was in the kitchen eating toast. You bought a sponge, she said. I'm capable of change. Should I call Leah? I already did. Her eyebrows rose. Big day. I showed her the mug seal. That's the wrong size. It says universal. Universal is a lie told by packaging. She was right. The seal slipped off as soon as I pressed it into the lid. I put it in the junk drawer, where most universal things eventually ended up. Evan did not come home for dinner that night. He texted Paige that he was finishing another job. She showed me only because I asked whether I should save him food, not because either of us wanted to become his messenger. Wednesday morning, he left before I came downstairs. At 5, Paige changed clothes 3 times. The apartment above the bakery did not require formal wear, but she settled on dark pants and a green blouse. You look employable, I said. I'm trying to look like somebody a landlord trusts with old plumbing. Don't look too trustworthy. They'll ask you to fix it. She checked her phone. No message? I asked. He knows the address. At 5:20, she picked up her purse. Do you want me to come? I asked. The question was out before I considered how it sounded. No, she said gently. But thank you. I wasn't trying to get involved, I know. You were trying to make sure I didn't go alone. Is that different? Very. She left. Evan came home 18 minutes later. He entered through the garage, saw Paige's car gone, and looked at the clock. She went? Yes. You let her? I stared at him. Choose that verb again. He dropped his keys into the basket. I mean, did she say anything? She said, you knew the address. I told her I had work. You're home. The client canceled tomorrow's install, so I finished early. Then go. He looked toward the driveway, then pulled out his phone. His thumb hovered over the screen. I'm not chasing her around because she panicked. She didn't look panicked. You don't know her? I've lived with her for 2 years. That doesn't mean you know our marriage. No, it means I know she changed clothes 3 times and waited until 5:20. He put the phone away. Stop helping. I'm not. You are. You've got her looking at apartments, Leah lecturing me about boundaries. I told Leah not to get involved. She told me the same thing, in your voice. I apologized to her. That stopped him. For what? For putting her in the middle. He stared at me as if I had violated an agreement. You apologized to Leah. Yes, but not to me. I'm sorry I let 6 months become 2 years without an honest conversation. His jaw tightened. That's not an apology. That's eviction with manners. It's the apology I owe you? No. You owe me more than that. He went upstairs without going after Paige. She returned at 6:40, carrying a folded sheet from the apartment showing. Evan came down when he heard her. Well, he asked. It's small, she said. The floors tilt toward the back, and the bedroom closet is insulting. I told you. The windows are beautiful. The bakery gives tenants 15% off. The rent includes water. He crossed his arms. So you want it. I filled out an application. His face fell. Paige unfolded the sheet and laid it on the counter between them. I applied for one person, she said. Evan looked at the paper, then at his wife. For one person? You didn't come? I told you I was working. You were standing in this kitchen while I was there. I got home late. You had time. You wanted me to chase you. I wanted you to show up. Paige folded the sheet along its existing crease. Her hands were steady, which made the conversation feel more serious than if she had been crying. Evan pointed at the paper. You applied for an apartment without your husband. I applied for a place I can afford by myself. That's not what I said. It's what I heard. He turned to me. Could we have one private conversation in this house? I was about to leave. No, Paige said. We both looked at her. She laid the folded paper on the counter. Stay. I don't need to be here for this. Yes, you do. I'm tired of having one conversation with you in the room and another after you leave. Evan laughed in disbelief. So now he's our marriage counselor? No. He's the person whose house you were planning our future around. I sat at the kitchen table because standing there made me feel like a referee, and I had just promised Leah I was retiring from that job. Evan remained by the counter. You said you wanted a place nobody could take from us, he said. Now you're getting one nobody can share with you. It has 2 sets of keys. You applied alone. The application can be changed. Then why didn't you put me on it? Because I don't know if you want an apartment with me or if you want to stay here until Martin gives in. I'm not waiting for him to give in. Paige looked at him. Evan glanced my way. I'm waiting for him to calm down. I'm calm, I said. That's the problem. Evan, Paige said, listen to yourself. I am listening. I'm the only person in this house who makes any sense. She let out a tired breath. You tried to move your father into a retirement community so we could take his bedroom. Stop saying it like that. How should I say it? We were making a transition that helped everybody. Everybody except the person transitioning. He liked the place. He likes the window in the den. You put a machine in front of it. That has nothing to do with this. It has everything to do with this. Evan pulled a hand through his hair. Sawdust still clung near one temple. He looked exhausted, and because he was my son, I had to fight the urge to offer him food. Paige, we have a plan, he said. No, you have a sequence of things you expect to happen. What's the difference? A plan includes the people living it. He looked at the paper again. And your plan is to leave me. My plan is to stop living in a house where every cabinet door feels like an argument. You said you liked it here? I did. I like Martin. I like the kitchen. I like that the dryer buzzes loud enough to scare me every single time. I can fix that. That is exactly what I'm talking about. He stared at her. Not everything needs you to fix it, she said. Sometimes it needs you to hear it. For a moment, there was no defensiveness in his face, only hurt. Then he found somewhere to put it. He turned to me. You happy? No. You got your house back. Paige is leaving. Leah thinks I'm some kind of tyrant. Seems like a good week for you. My house still has your socks in the laundry basket. That's funny. It wasn't. Paige stepped between us without actually moving. Do not make him responsible for what I'm doing. He gave us 6 weeks. You gave me a future I didn't agree to. I was trying to get us out of a bedroom with 1 closet by taking his bedroom. He doesn't use half the space in this house. His voice filled the kitchen. I looked toward the ceiling as if the volume might have dislodged something. Evan lowered his voice. He sits in the den, sleeps downstairs, and complains about the yard. We maintain everything. We're already living here. That doesn't make it ours, Paige said. He told me it would be. They both looked at me. There are sentences that change over time without changing a word. This place will be yours one day had once meant I trusted my son with the things I had built and kept. In Evan's mouth, it sounded like a contract I had written carelessly and refused to honor. I said one day, I told him. When? What? When is one day? I felt the air go out of the room. Paige whispered, Evan, no. He gets to say it like it was some harmless thing. Every time I repaired something, every time we talked about the roof or the garage, it was always, you'll have to deal with this one day. What was I supposed to think? That I meant after I was dead? Do you hear yourself? I do. Then maybe you understand why Cedar Glen didn't sound like throwing you into the street. It sounded like getting the house early. His face tightened as if I had struck him. That's what you think of me. I think you wanted 2 things at once. You wanted to care for me, and you wanted what caring for me might earn you. Maybe because that's how you raised me. The words landed quietly. Paige sat across from me. Evan continued before either of us could stop him. You never wanted help until you did. You never asked, but if I noticed, I was a good son. If I didn't notice, you made that little disappointed face and said it was fine. You told me this place would be mine because that was easier than saying thank you. I did say thank you. You said it like a receipt. I looked down at the table. The pale ring from the hot dish seemed brighter without the cloth covering it. I'm going upstairs, Paige said. Evan watched her pick up the folded apartment sheet. Are you taking it? He asked. Yes. So you've decided. I'll know Friday if they approve me, and if they do, I'll take it. He looked toward me again, but there was no accusation left in his face, only the terrible recognition that he could not hand this decision to me. Paige paused at the stairs. You can come with me, she said, But not if we're calling it temporary until your father changes his mind. Then she went up. Evan stayed in the kitchen a while longer. He did not speak. He took my red travel mug from the drying rack, examined the lid, and set it back down. "The seal's wrong," I said. "I know." He went into the garage. I sat alone until the light over the stove began to hum. The next morning, Paige put strips of blue painter's tape on 3 cardboard boxes in the upstairs office. She wrote books on one, desk on another, and cables on the third. Evan saw them before he left for work. He peeled the tape off the box, marked desk, and stuck it to the wall. Paige replaced it. Neither said a word. I was standing in the hallway with a basket of clean towels, trying to become invisible in my own house. Paige took the basket from me. "I can carry those," I said. "I know. They're mine." She removed 2 gray towels and handed the basket back. It was the beginning of sorting. That afternoon, she opened kitchen cabinets and asked who owned things nobody remembered buying. The glass mixing bowls were mine. The colander was hers. We argued politely over a cast iron skillet until I found her initials scratched into the bottom. "Take it," I said. "I wasn't trying to steal it. I didn't say you were. You made a face." "I have a face." "Martin, take the skillet." She put it in a box and wrote kitchen across the tape. Evan came home while the box sat beside the back door. He stepped around it without looking down. For 2 days, he and Paige spoke only about practical things. Did the electric bill get paid? Had anyone seen the scissors? Was the chicken in the refrigerator still good? Their courtesy made the house feel like an office after layoffs. Friday morning, Paige received the approval while we were both in the kitchen. Her phone buzzed. She read the message twice, then sat. "Well?" I asked. I got it. I expected relief. Instead, she pressed both hands over her mouth. I put a glass of water in front of her because it was the only useful thing I could think to do. "When?" "Keys Monday. I can move in Tuesday. That's fast." They wanted it filled. She nodded as if answering somebody else, then looked toward the stairs. "Evan left at 6, I said. "I know. Call him. I don't know what to say. Tell him what you told me, that I got it, that you don't know what to say." She laughed behind her hands, and then she cried. I stayed across the table. I did not touch her. I did not promise things I had no right to promise. When she was finished, she wiped her face with a paper napkin and called her husband. He didn't answer. Sunday arrived with 4 place settings on the table. I made meatloaf because I didn't trust the blue serving dish, and because roast felt too much like reenacting a crime. Leah came at 5 with a pie from the grocery store and pretended not to notice the boxes stacked near the back door. Paige came downstairs at 5:20 and asked whether I needed help. Evan's chair remained empty. At 5:30, I took the meatloaf from the oven. "Should we wait?" Leah asked. "He knows what time we eat," I said. We sat. Paige folded her napkin into a narrow rectangle. Leah cut 1 carrot into 6 pieces. The garage door rose when I was halfway through my first bite. Evan came into the kitchen carrying a paper bag from a hamburger place. He stopped when he saw the table. "Nobody told me we were doing dinner." "We do it every Sunday," Leah said. "You could have texted." She looked at me, but did not answer for me. I put down my fork. "You're right," I said. "I could have." The apology seemed to anger him more than an argument would have. He lifted the bag. I already ate. Grease had darkened the bottom. Then he noticed the boxes by the door. His eyes found Paige. "When were you going to tell me?" "I called Friday. You left a message saying to call you." "Yes. You didn't say why. I wanted to hear your voice when I told you." "Well, you've heard it." Paige's fingers tightened around her napkin. "I get the keys tomorrow," she said. Evan looked at the 4 plates, the boxes, and the chair waiting for him. Then he carried his hamburger upstairs and closed the bedroom door. For several seconds, nobody moved. Leah's knife rested against the carrot she had been pretending to eat. Paige stared at the ceiling as if she could see through it to the bedroom above. I picked up my fork. "The meatloaf's getting cold," I said. Leah gave me a look. "That's what you're going with?" "I don't have anything better." Paige unfolded her napkin and laid it beside her plate. "I should talk to him." "Do you want to?" Leah asked. "No." "Then finish dinner." It was the first thing Leah had said directly to Paige all evening. Paige looked surprised, then grateful, then guilty for being grateful. She sat. We ate without Evan. The meatloaf was dry near the ends and pinker in the middle than I would have preferred. Leah ate her 3 carrots. Paige ate half of everything and drank 2 glasses of water. Nobody touched the pie. When dinner was over, Paige carried her plate to the sink. "I'm going upstairs," she said. Leah reached for her arm, then seemed to think better of it. "Do you need anything?" "A different week. I'm out of those." Paige managed a smile. "Thanks anyway." She went up. The bedroom door opened, then closed. Their voices began low enough that I couldn't hear words. I carried the meatloaf to the refrigerator. Leah wrapped the pie in its plastic cover and wrote "store" bought on a piece of painter's tape. "In case I forget?" I asked. "In case you try to compliment me next week." Upstairs, something thumped. Leah looked toward the ceiling. "Don't," I said. "I'm not doing anything. You're listening. So are you. I live here. That doesn't make your ears private." Another thump, quieter than the first. A drawer, probably. Or a box set down too hard. Leah dried her hands. "She's really leaving." "Yes." "And he's staying. For now." "Dad." I said 6 weeks. You also said the first deadline was anger. The 6 weeks weren't. Then don't change it because you feel guilty. I wasn't planning to. You're looking at the stairs like you're about to offer them the house and your truck. The truck is in excellent condition. I'm serious. So am I. She put the dish towel over the oven handle. "You don't have to rescue Evan from the consequences of making Paige feel homeless. His marriage is none of my business. He made it your business when he tried to move you, and she made it theirs again by getting an apartment." Leah studied me. That almost sounded healthy. Don't spread it around. She hugged me before leaving. Leah's hugs were usually quick, one arm and a shoulder. That night, she held on with both arms. When the back door closed, I stood in the kitchen beneath the humming light. The voices upstairs had stopped. At 10, I found Evan's hamburger in the refrigerator. One bite was missing. The paper bag had soaked through and left a dark circle on the shelf. I moved it to a plate. Monday afternoon, Paige came home carrying 2 new keys on a plain silver ring. She set them on the counter, not in the basket. "The floors are worse than I remembered," she said. "Put a marble down and you'll never lose it." I'd lose it immediately. It would roll into the bakery. She had spent the morning measuring walls. The office desk would fit if she removed one of its side shelves. Her couch would not fit because she did not own a couch. Most of the furniture upstairs belonged to me or had been purchased jointly with Evan. She held up the keys. One for me. One for the imaginary version of my husband who wants to live above a bakery. Maybe he'll come. Maybe. She did not sound hopeful. Evan returned while she was taking apart the desk. He stepped into the office, saw the screwdriver in her hand, and took it without asking. "You're stripping the head," he said. "I'm turning it, with the wrong size." He knelt and loosened the first screw. Paige stood beside him, arms folded. "I can do it, I know. You don't act like it. This one's stuck. Then say that." He looked up at her. "It's stuck. Thank you." They dismantled the desk together. I stayed downstairs and made soup, though the weather was too warm for it. Their footsteps crossed above me. Once, Paige laughed. A few minutes later, a door shut hard. At dinner, neither came down. Tuesday morning, a small moving truck pulled into the driveway at 8. 2 men in matching gray shirts began carrying boxes from the upstairs office. They were both adults, both polite, and neither appeared interested in the reason a married woman was moving out while her husband's boots remained by the back door. That made 3 of us. Evan had left before 7. Paige said he had an installation across town. She did not say whether he had kissed her goodbye. The movers took the desk first, then a bookcase Paige had bought herself, then boxes of clothes and kitchen things. Every trip made the upstairs rooms sound larger. I stayed out of the way until one of the men carried down the box marked kitchen. "Careful," Paige said. "There's cast iron in that one." The mover adjusted his grip. "Ma'am, there's cast iron in all of them." She laughed, then covered her mouth. At 10, one mover asked which couch was going. "None," Paige said. He looked around. "Bed? None. Dining table? None. Television? No." He glanced toward the nearly empty truck. "That makes our day easier." When he went upstairs, Paige stood beside me in the den. "I own 17 coffee mugs," she said. "I don't own a bed. You own a desk. It has 3 legs until I put it back together. I have a folding card table in the garage. No, you could borrow it." I said no because if you offer me one more practical object, I'm going to cry in front of a man carrying my underwear. I put my hands in my pockets. She looked at the chair by the window. "Thank you. I didn't do anything." "Exactly." The garage door rose at 11:20. Evan's truck came in too fast, stopped, and rolled forward another inch after he put it in park. He entered through the kitchen in his work clothes. "What happened?" Paige asked. Client changed the schedule. His eyes moved past her to the boxes. "You didn't have to come back," she said. "I live here." No one answered. One of the movers came downstairs carrying the office chair. "This going?" "Yes," Paige said. Evan took the chair from him. "I'll do it. Sir, we've got it," I said. "I'll do it." The mover released the chair and raised both hands. Evan carried it to the truck. He returned and took the next box, then the next. He worked quickly, saying nothing, correcting how the movers stacked the boxes even though there was enough empty truck to leave space between all of them. Paige watched from the doorway. When only 3 boxes remained, she touched his arm. "You can stop. I'm helping." "I know." He picked up the box marked cables. "Evan." "What?" "Come with me." He looked toward the truck. "Today?" he asked. "Tonight? Tomorrow? Whenever. But come because you want to live with me, not because you're waiting for this to fail. I'm not waiting for it to fail. Then take the second key." She held it out. He did not reach for it. "What am I supposed to do with my tools?" he asked. "Keep them here until you find a workspace." "And my materials?" "We'll figure it out. There's no parking. There's street parking. For a work truck full of equipment, we'll figure it out." "You keep saying that like it's a plan." Her hand dropped. Evan looked at me. "This is what you wanted, right? Me trying to run a business out of a tilted apartment. I didn't pick the apartment. You picked the deadline." Paige stepped between us. "Don't. He needs to understand what he's asking. He asked you to leave his house. He didn't ask you to leave me." The movers carried out the final box. Paige gave them the address, then walked through the rooms once more. In the kitchen, she removed 2 coffee mugs from a box she had forgotten to load. One said, "World's okayest accountant." That was how I learned what she had done before. Remote work made every profession look like typing upstairs. She put the mug in her purse. At the back door, she handed me one of the silver keys. "For what?" I asked. "In case I lock myself out. That seems optimistic about my driving at night." "You have a truck, so I've heard." She hugged me. I kept my hands light on her back. "I'm sorry," she said into my shoulder. "So am I." When she released me, she turned to Evan. He stood beside the key basket. "Call me," she said. "You could call me." "I have." She placed the second silver key on the counter. Then she left. Evan watched the moving truck pull away, followed by Paige's car. He remained at the door after both had disappeared. The house sounded wrong without her. No footsteps overhead. No podcast arguing from the kitchen. Even the dryer was quiet. Evan picked up the silver key. For a moment, I thought he would put it on his ring. Instead, he dropped it into the basket. I could have said something. A dozen possible sentences passed through my mind, all of them designed to move him toward the door, toward Paige, toward the correct decision. I remembered Leah telling me that silence made other people do the uncomfortable part. So I chose one sentence and said it plainly. "Do you want to go after her?" "No." The answer came too fast. I waited. He turned from the door. His face looked older than it had at Sunday dinner. "I want her to come back." He went upstairs. I stood in the kitchen holding the key Paige had given me, listening to my son walk through the empty rooms she had left behind. That evening, I cooked 2 pork chops by habit. Evan didn't come down, so I wrapped his and placed it in the refrigerator beside the hamburger. At midnight, I woke to the sound of the back door opening. I went into the hall and saw him standing in the kitchen in his coat. The silver key was no longer in the basket. "You going somewhere?" I asked. He slipped the key into his pocket. "Don't wait up." He returned 40 minutes later. He did not look at me as he climbed the stairs. In the morning, the key was back in the basket. I looked at the key while the coffee brewed. When Evan came down, he looked at it too. Neither of us mentioned it. He opened the refrigerator, found the wrapped pork chop, and ate half of it cold while standing with the door open. "There's a plate," I said. "I'm leaving." "You have time to close the refrigerator." He closed it with his hip. I poured coffee into the red mug. The original seal still leaked, but only if I tilted it. There was probably a lesson in that, but I was getting tired of household objects having lessons. "Did you see Paige?" I asked. "No." The answer was flat. "You took the key. I drove over. And there's nowhere to park." "She told you that." There's nowhere to park within 3 blocks. I've got $8,000 worth of tools in my truck. You could take the car. What car? A car. I wasn't offering one. He gave me a hard look. You asked if I saw her. I didn't. I nodded and drank my coffee. He waited. What? He said. Nothing. That's worse. I'm trying not to tell you what to do. You've had no problem doing that lately. I told you what you have to do in my house. That's different. Sure. He took the remaining half of the pork chop, wrapped it in a paper towel, and left. The silver key remained in the basket. At 11, Paige sent me a picture of her desk assembled against a wall. It leaned so badly that she had put 2 folded pieces of cardboard under the left legs. Do not show Evan, she wrote. I replied, why not? Because he will arrive with a level and never leave. I typed, that seems efficient. 3 dots appeared, vanished, then appeared again. Did he come by last night? I stared at the question. Ask him, I wrote. The dots disappeared. It felt unfriendly. It also felt clean. I spent the afternoon cutting back the shrub outside the den window. Evan usually handled the shrubs with an electric trimmer that made them look like green furniture. I used hand shears and discovered the lower branches were dead. Walter Donnelly watched from across the street while pretending to collect his mail. Walter had been retired longer than I had and treated any activity on our block as a free performance. Taking it down, he called. Trimming it. Looks dead. So do you from this distance. He laughed and went inside. By the time I finished, the shrub was uneven but alive. I could see more of the street from my chair. That evening, Evan ate out again. On Thursday, he came home with 2 pizzas and put one on the counter without comment. Is that mine? I asked. It's too much for one person. That wasn't the question. Yes, it's yours. Thank you. He nodded. I opened the box. Mushrooms covered half. You got Paige's order. He looked down as if the pizza place had betrayed him. I forgot. I picked off the mushrooms and put them on his side. He ate them. The days settled into a pattern that looked peaceful from outside. Evan worked. I handled the trash, coffee, and furnace filter. He stopped asking whether I needed anything from the store. I stopped asking when he would be home. The upstairs office stayed empty. Paige's absence had a shape. The cable opening in the desk wall looked like a missing outlet. 3 pale rectangles marked where her frame prints had hung. She had left 1 gray towel in the linen closet, probably by accident. I did not tell her. On Sunday, I texted everyone separately about dinner. Leah answered with a thumbs up. Paige wrote, I don't think I should. I replied, you're invited. She wrote, I know. Evan did not answer. At 5:30, he was in the garage, cutting a cabinet panel. The saw whined through the prayer I had not said before eating. Leah and I had chicken at the kitchen table. You're chewing loudly, she said. It's crispy. It's not that crispy. You've gotten critical since I apologized. It removed a barrier. She ate 4 carrots that night, which I chose not to mention. Before leaving, she stood by the key basket. Is that Paige's? One of them. Why is it here? Ask your brother. She looked toward the garage. No. Good. You sound disappointed. I'm learning at an uneven pace. The garage went quiet after 9. Evan came inside smelling of sawdust and varnish. He opened the refrigerator, saw the plate I had saved, and shut the door. You could have eaten with us. I was busy. You have to eat. I did. What? His expression changed. I had done it again. A simple question, carrying an inspection underneath. Never mind, I said. No, go ahead. Tell me crackers don't count. I was going to ask what you ate. Why? Because I care. Or because you want to catch me doing it wrong? I leaned against the counter. Do I do that? All the time. The ease of his answer made me believe him. I'm sorry. He stared at me. Stop apologizing like you found a new setting. That one was sincere. They're all sincere. That doesn't make them useful. He went upstairs. At 2:15 in the morning, a metallic bang woke me. I sat up, listening. A second sound followed, not a bang, but a steady rush of water behind the laundry room wall. I reached the hallway as Evan came down the stairs in a t-shirt and sweatpants. What was that? He asked. Water heater. We moved at the same time. The laundry room floor was already covered. Water sprayed from a split fitting above the tank, striking the wall and running behind the dryer. I reached for the shutoff valve. It's seized, I said. Move! Evan gripped it with both hands. The valve did not turn. Pliers, he said. Garage, second drawer under the bench. He ran. I unplugged the dryer, lifted the laundry basket onto the machine, and threw towels along the doorway. The one gray towel Paige had left landed in the water and darkened. Evan returned with channel lock pliers and the small flashlight I kept beside the vise. He clamped the jaws around the valve. "Hold the light." "I am." "You're lighting my shoulder. Your shoulder is blocking the valve. Then move the light around my shoulder." "I can't bend light, Evan." He almost laughed. I heard it in his breath. The valve turned with a squeal. The spray weakened, then stopped. Water continued spreading from under the tank. "Drain hose," he said. "Back wall." We attached an old garden hose to the drain and ran it through the side door. Evan opened the valve while I dragged the wet towels into a pile. The hose jumped in the yard, spitting rusty water across the grass. For 20 minutes, neither of us spoke except to ask for a wrench or warn about a cord. It was the easiest conversation we had had in weeks. We pulled the dryer away from the wall. A dark, wet patch reached halfway up the baseboard. "Fan," Evan said. "Attic." "Why is the fan in the attic?" "Because I don't need it. You need it now. That's how storage works." He stared at me, then laughed despite himself. We found the fan behind a box of holiday lights and set it in the doorway. Evan removed the damaged section of fitting and examined it under the laundry room light. "Corroded," he said. "I can see that. You should have replaced this when we changed the heater. You changed the heater 4 years ago. Then you should have replaced it." He looked at me. I looked at him. "That's fair," he said. By 3:30, the floor was dry enough to walk on. The towels sat in a plastic tub. Evan leaned against the washer, arms wet to the elbows. "You would have flooded the whole first floor," he said. "No, you couldn't turn the valve. I would have shut the main." "Do you know where the main is?" "Yes." "Where?" "Behind the panel under the basement stairs." He frowned. "It's beside the furnace. I had it moved when the meter was replaced." "When?" "Before you came back." He looked irritated by the existence of a fact he had not managed. "You still couldn't have done all this alone." "No." The admission stopped him. I sat on the closed toilet in the small half bath beside the laundry room. My shoulder ached from moving the dryer, but it was a normal ache, not an injury. "I needed your help," I said. "I'm glad you were here." He looked down at the fitting in his hand. "If you were at Cedar Glen, you'd call maintenance and go back to bed." "Probably." "So maybe the place makes sense." "Maybe it does." He glanced at me. "I might live there someday," I said. "I might live here until I can't." "Those can both be true." "You always say someday." "Because I don't know yet." "Everybody else is supposed to wait while you don't know." "No. You're supposed to make your life without using mine as the answer." He tossed the fitting into the utility sink. It rang against the metal. "I was helping you." "You were. Tonight too. And that means nothing? It means I needed you. It doesn't mean I surrender my say." His mouth tightened. "Needing help isn't surrender," I said. "Unless the person helping makes it one." "That's a nice line. It's 3 a.m. I'm doing my best." He wiped his hands on his shirt. "Call a plumber tomorrow." "I will. I'm not fixing it." "I didn't ask you to." "You were going to." "No." He looked almost disappointed. At the stairs, he stopped. "I went to Paige's building," he said. I guessed. I saw her light. "But you didn't go in. There wasn't anywhere to park. You said that." He rubbed the back of his neck. "I could have parked." I waited. She had a lamp in the window. One I've never seen. Maybe she bought it. She always said we shouldn't buy things until we had our own place. The sentence broke in the middle, not enough to become a sob, but enough that he turned away. "Take the key," I said. He looked toward the kitchen. "I don't want her to think I'm choosing that apartment." "Then don't go. You just told me to take it." "No. I told you where the key is. You're the one who has to decide what taking it means." He went upstairs. I returned to the laundry room and lifted the wet towels into the washer. Paige's gray one was at the bottom, soaked through and heavier than the rest. When I came back to the kitchen, the silver key was gone. Evan's truck was gone by the time I got up again. So was the silver key. He had left a note on the kitchen counter, "Plumber at 9. I called Ray. He knows the heater. Underneath that, in smaller writing, he had added, "Don't let him sell you a new tank. This one is fine." It was the closest thing to care he could offer without risking another argument. Ray arrived at 9:10, replaced the split fitting, and agreed the tank was fine. He was a broad man in his 60s who had worked on the house before, and remembered every repair except the ones he had done incorrectly. "Your son usually handles this stuff," he said. "He handled the water. Good man to have around." "Yes." Ray waited, perhaps expecting an explanation for my tone. I pointed at the valve. "Can you replace that too? Doesn't need replacing. It took pliers to turn. That's what pliers are for. I'd like to be able to shut it off by hand." He sighed as if I had asked him to move the house 3 inches to the left, but he replaced it. When he left, I turned the new valve twice. It moved easily. I texted Evan that the tank was fine and the valve was new. He replied with a thumbs up. Then, a minute later, "Did he overcharge you?" I sent him the amount. He wrote, "A little." I wrote, "I survived." He did not answer. The gray towel had shrunk in the wash. I folded it and put it in a grocery bag beside the key Paige had given me. Then I called Cedar Glen. Diane answered on the second ring. "I'd like another look at Unit 12, I said. "Of course." "Would you like your son to join us?" "No." She did not pause this time. "Thursday at 11? Thursday at 11, Cedar Glen looked less like a place people were sent and more like a hotel that had decided carpet patterns should be louder than conversation. Diane met me near the front desk. She wore the same blue suit she had worn at the open lunch, or another blue suit designed to look exactly like it. "No chicken salad today," she said. "I came anyway. That's encouraging." She showed me the dining room again, the exercise room, and a small lounge where 4 adults were arguing over a card game. A gray-haired woman slapped a card onto the table. "That's not how gin works, Arthur. It is in my house. This isn't your house. Then I can cheat." The woman saw me watching and pointed at the empty chair. "You play?" "Not well." "Perfect." "Sit by Arthur." Diane smiled. "We can come back. I'll remember the offer." The unit was on the 3rd floor at the end of a quiet hall. Diane unlocked the door and stepped aside. It was smaller than my downstairs. Living room, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom. The carpet was beige, not insulting, but close. Sunlight came through a wide west-facing window. From there, I could see a line of maple trees, the parking lot, and the roof of a grocery store. The last time I had stood at that window, Evan had been beside me. He had said, "You could put your recliner right here." I had said, "I could see myself sitting here." What I had meant was that the light was good. What he had heard was an opening. Diane stayed near the door. "Take your time." I walked into the bedroom. My bed would fit, but little else. The closet was larger than the one above Paige's bakery and smaller than mine at home. The kitchen had 2 burners and no real oven. Where would I make a roast? We have a private dining room residents can reserve. The kitchen there has a full-size oven. So I'd carry the roast down the hall. You could ask staff for help. There it was again. Help available, help arranged, help without history attached. I returned to the window and sat on the sill. The room was quiet. No saw in the garage. No footsteps overhead. No Paige arguing with a podcast. No one moving my chair. No one noticing if I ate crackers for dinner. That last thought did not feel like freedom. "What happens if I don't want scheduled meals?" I asked. "You don't attend? If I want to drive at night? You drive? If I want to leave laundry downstairs for 3 days?" Diane looked toward the small washer-dryer unit in the hallway closet. It would be a very short downstairs. I smiled. She handed me a brochure but did not open it. "You don't have to convince me," I said. "I know. Is that part of the training?" "Yes." Her honesty made me trust her more than reassurance would have. "What do people get wrong about moving here?" I asked. "They think choosing support means surrendering independence." I nearly laughed. "Something funny?" I heard a related argument recently. She leaned against the kitchen counter. "The other thing they get wrong is timing. Some people come too early because their family is afraid. Some come too late because they are afraid. The best timing belongs to the person moving, but families don't always enjoy that answer. Do you tell them? Every day. I looked at the brochure in my hand. If I said no now, could I call in a year? Yes. Unit 12 would probably be occupied, but Cedar Glen would still be here. If I said yes now, we'd begin with an application. You would choose a move date. No one else could do that for you. The room did not repel me. That was almost inconvenient. I had wanted to hate the place. Ugly carpet would have been useful. A bad smell, rude staff, a view of a brick wall, anything that could reduce the problem to Evan choosing badly. Instead, He had chosen a decent place at the wrong time for the wrong person. I stayed for lunch. No chicken salad, meatloaf. A divorced woman named Harriet sat across from me and complained that the mashed potatoes had lost their will to live. Arthur, the card cheater, joined us and put hot sauce on everything, including a dinner roll, and neither asked why I was there until dessert. Family pushing, Harriet said. My son thinks I'd be safer here. That's not what I asked. Yes. Do you want to come? I don't know. Then don't sign anything. Arthur shook hot sauce onto his pie. Harriet slapped his hand. That's apple. It needs character. She turned back to me. My sister pushed me for 4 years. I finally moved 6 months after she stopped. Why? Because then it was my idea. Arthur raised his fork. Still thinks everything is her idea. It usually is. They argued through the rest of dessert. On the drive home, I imagined my chair by the west window. I imagined Sunday dinner in the private dining room, carrying a roast down the hall while Arthur followed with hot sauce. I imagined Evan not having to check the furnace filter. Then, I imagined handing him my house because he had forced me to picture a different life. By the time I reached my street, I was angry again, but not at Cedar Glen. Evan's truck was already in the driveway. He was in the garage sorting hinges into clear plastic bins. The exercise machine stood folded against the wall beside a cabinet door. He saw the brochure on my passenger seat before I could pick it up. You went back? Yes. His whole face opened. Hope arrived so quickly it embarrassed both of us. You liked it? I had lunch. Was Diane there? Yes. Did you see the unit? Yes. He wiped his hands on his work pants. And it's nice. He laughed once, with relief. I told you, I'm not moving. The relief vanished. You just said it was nice. It is. You went all the way back there, looked at the apartment, ate lunch, and you're still saying no? Yes. Why? Because I wanted to look. You already looked. I wanted to look without you. He stood very still. I took the grocery bag from the truck. The towel inside had picked up the faint smell of coffee from an old bag in the back seat. Evan followed me into the kitchen. So this was what? A test? No. Did you tell them I bullied you? I told Harriet. Who's Harriet? A woman with opinions about potatoes. He stared at me. That was a joke, I said. I don't know with you anymore. I set the bag on the counter. He picked up the brochure and opened it. You circled the floor plan. I had a pen. You wrote chair by the window. That's where the chair would go. So you were thinking about it. Yes. But you're not moving, not now. Then when? I don't know. He threw the brochure onto the table. Someday. Yes, that word again. I could see why it enraged him. Someday was where I had stored every decision I did not want to make. The house, my health, what Evan could expect from me, what I expected from him. It was a room I kept making him wait outside, but his answer had been to break in and choose for me. I need to do better than someday, I said. That doesn't mean you get to pick the date. How long do I have now? The same deadline. You're considering moving to the exact place I found, and you're still making me leave first. Yes. He laughed without humor. That's unbelievable. It's separate. It is not separate. If you move out, what happens to the house? I haven't decided. You could let us stay. Paige has an apartment. Because you threw us out. Because you told her I had agreed when I hadn't. He paced once across the kitchen, then back. I went inside last night, he said. I waited. She buzzed me up. We talked. How is she? You know how she is. You text her. She texted me about the desk. I told her to ask you whether you visited. His expression shifted, as if he had expected proof of a conspiracy and found an empty folder. She wants me to bring clothes, he said. Stay a few nights. Do you want to? I can't leave my tools in the truck on that street. The tools can stay in the garage while you're deciding. His head came up. So I can use the garage for the rest of the 6 weeks. And after? We'll talk about a short extension for materials if you have somewhere else to sleep. Why would you do that? Because cabinets don't care about family boundaries. He looked suspicious. What's the catch? You keep the bench clear enough that I can use it. You ask before moving my things. You don't call it your garage. This is ridiculous. It's specific. You love rules now. I love knowing what conversation I'm in. He picked up the brochure again. If you move to Cedar Glen after all this, he said, then none of this was about staying in your house. It was about choosing. It'll look like punishment. To who? To me. The answer was so unguarded that I could not dismiss it. He set the brochure down carefully this time. "If you leave after making me leave," he said, "I don't know if I'll forgive you." Then he took the silver key from his pocket and went upstairs to pack a bag. The duffel bag belonged to me. It was dark green with a broken zipper pull and had been in the hall closet since before Evan moved in. He came downstairs carrying it by the shoulder strap, one side bulging where he had packed a pair of work boots. "You could use one of your own bags," I said. "They're in Paige's apartment. All of them? The useful ones." I wanted to point out that he had just classified mine as useful, but his face stopped me. He put the bag near the back door and picked up the Cedar Glen brochure. "Can I take this?" "Why?" "I want to show Paige the floor plan. She's seen the place, not the unit." I held out my hand. After a second, he gave me the brochure. "This isn't family research," I said. "If I decide anything, I'll tell you." "You mean after you tell strangers at lunch?" Harriet asked. "Good. Maybe Harriet can check your tire pressure." He picked up the duffel. "Paige's gray towel is in that grocery bag," I said. He glanced at the bag on the counter. "How did you get her towel?" "She left it. It helped to save the laundry room." He looked at me as if this represented another relationship happening behind his back, then put the grocery bag on top of the duffel. "Don't wait up," he said. "You said that last time." This time, I packed socks. He left. The garage door closed, his truck backed out, and the headlights moved across the den window. For the first time in 2 years, no one else was sleeping in the house. I enjoyed it for 11 minutes. I turned on the television. Too loud. I lowered it. Too quiet. I went upstairs and found the office empty except for the marks where Paige's desk had stood. The bedroom looked as if Evan had been interrupted in the middle of leaving. One drawer remained open. His work clothes occupied half the closet, and Paige's side held 6 empty hangers. I closed the drawer. Then I opened it again because it was not mine to close. At midnight, I heated the pork chop he had ignored and ate it over the sink. The next morning, I made 1 egg in the cast iron skillet I had argued over with Paige before discovering it was hers. Then I remembered she had taken it. I was standing at the stove holding an ordinary stainless steel pan. That was how strange the house felt. I was missing things that were no longer there so vividly that I could see them. Evan came in through the garage at 7:30 wearing yesterday's clothes. "How was the apartment?" I asked. "Crooked, the floors, everything." I put a level on the kitchen counter. "Of course you did. It drops almost half an inch. Did the coffee stay in the cup? Barely." He took a clean shirt from the laundry basket, changed in the downstairs bathroom, and left for work with no mention of Paige. That became the pattern. He slept at the apartment twice, then at my house once. He arrived early for tools, showered, left shirts in the upstairs closet, and carried socks in both directions as if conducting a slow experiment in textile migration. The silver key stayed on his ring. He never said he had moved in with Paige. He said he was staying over. Paige did not report on him. Once she texted to ask whether the plumber had fixed the valve. I said yes. She replied with a photograph of her coffee sitting on the tilted counter without spilling. "Progress," she wrote. I sent a thumbs up and nothing else. In the garage, Evan cleared the right end of the workbench without being asked. My vise stood bolted where it belonged. He moved his boxes of hinges onto metal shelving and labeled them by size. The labels were blue painter's tape. I did not mention that either. Leah came on Thursday carrying 2 sandwiches and found the Cedar Glen brochure under the salt shaker. "You went back?" she asked. "Yes." "Alone?" "Yes." She opened it and saw where I had written chair beside the window. "Are you moving?" "No." "You wrote on the floor plan. Apparently that's legally binding in this family." She sat across from me. "Was it awful?" "No." "Was it good?" "The potatoes were depressed." "Dad?" "It was fine. Better than fine." She closed the brochure. "Do you want to go?" "Not now, but maybe." "Maybe." She nodded. "You're taking this unusually well," I said. "I'm trying something new where your decisions belong to you. It's unsettling. I hate it." We ate half our sandwiches before she spoke again. "If you move there next year, Evan will think he was right." "I know. Would that stop you?" "I don't know." She pulled a piece of lettuce from her sandwich. "Then it still isn't your decision." I looked at her. "You're either making him happy or proving him wrong," she said. "He's still choosing. You and Harriet would get along." "Potato woman?" "Yes." "Invite her Sunday. She cheats at cards. That was Arthur. News travels fast. Leah smiled, then turned the brochure around so Unit 12 faced me. Did you really tell Evan the house would be his? Yes. How often? I don't know. Once? 10 times? More than once. She sat back. You never told me that. I assumed you knew things would be divided between you. Divided how? I hadn't worked that out. So Evan gets the house and I get whatever's left. That's not what I said. It's what you implied. The word caught me because it was the same defense I had rejected from Evan. I didn't mean to leave you out, I know. You didn't mean most of this. Her voice was not angry. That made it harder. Evan stayed close, she said. He fixed things. He went to appointments. Every time he did, you connected it to the house. Maybe not directly, maybe as a joke, but you gave him a future reward because saying you needed him in the present made you uncomfortable. That's a very organized explanation. I edit manuals, we identify recurring errors. I folded the sandwich wrapper into smaller and smaller squares. What did I give you? I asked. She considered it. Permission to leave. That sounds good. It was, mostly. And the rest? The rest was knowing I couldn't compete with somebody who made himself necessary. I looked toward the garage door. You shouldn't have had to compete. No, I'm sorry. Thank you. She reached across the table and flattened the sandwich wrapper under my hand. You're going to tear it. It's paper. You're going to tear the table. That was my line. She had heard it every Christmas while wrapping presents. I let go. Sunday dinner came with 5 invitations and 4 acceptances. I invited Leah, Evan, and Paige. Then, after staring at my phone, I invited my former wife out of old habit and deleted the message before sending it. That still counted as progress. Evan and Paige arrived together. They came in through the back door carrying a grocery store pie and a bag of rolls. Evan's overnight bag was not with them. Paige looked around the kitchen. Did you buy a new sponge? Tuesday. It's still blue. I rinse it. She inspected it. Acceptable. Evan put the rolls on the table. Your standards have collapsed. They became realistic. Leah arrived 5 minutes later and noticed the silver key on Evan's ring while he was opening a bottle of sparkling water. She said nothing, but her eyes met mine. I did not react. Dinner felt almost normal, which meant everyone worked very hard. Paige told us the bakery started mixing at 4:40 every morning, 10 minutes earlier than advertised. Leah told us about an instruction manual that had accidentally advised hospital staff to remove the patient when it meant remove the patient's gown. Evan explained why cabinet walls were never square, even in new houses. No wall is straight, he said. You adjust what you're installing so it looks right. Paige looked at him over her glass. That sounds familiar. He smiled, but only with one side of his mouth. After dinner, Leah washed dishes while Paige dried. Evan went into the garage to check glue he had left clamped overnight. I followed him. He stood at the workbench pressing one thumb against the corner of a cabinet drawer. Joint slipped, he said. Can you redo it? I can redo anything. I can't redo it without losing time. He loosened the clamp. I leaned against the truck. How are things with Paige? She's making space in the closet. That sounds promising. For 4 shirts. You only wear 4 shirts. I own more than 4. You own the same shirt 12 times. He smiled despite himself. I'm staying there tonight, he said. Then I need to be here the next 2 nights, early installs. You can get your tools without sleeping here. I know. The words came out defensive. How much time do you need for the garage? I asked. His shoulders tightened. Here we go. I'm asking. You already gave me a deadline for living here. I told you we could discuss the materials. You want a date? Yes. I can't give you one. Why? Because shops cost money, storage costs money, moving equipment costs money. The whole reason I started working from here was to rebuild after the partnership fell apart. I had known that. I had not understood the order of the pieces. Evan had not merely brought tools into my garage because space was convenient. He had built his recovery around the belief that the space was becoming his. How long? I asked again. 6 months. No. Then why ask? To find something I can agree to. 3 months. 2 months after you stop sleeping here. He stared at me. And then what? Then you need another place for the business. You don't even use this side. That isn't the point. He laughed. There it is. No. Listen. I'm not asking because I need empty concrete. I'm asking because temporary is what got us here. The garage door opened from the kitchen, and Paige stepped in. "Everything okay?" Evan looked at her. "Dad says I can keep working here for 2 months after I move out." Her expression changed. "After you move out?" "That's what he said." "What did you say?" "I didn't." She leaned against the doorframe. "Do you want to live at the apartment?" "It's been a week." "That's not an answer. I'm there half the time. You visit, you bring socks, you fix things I didn't ask you to fix, then go back here. The cabinet work is here. Your bed doesn't have to be." He looked from Paige to me. "This is insane," he said. "You're both demanding dates like I'm negotiating 2 leases." "No," Paige said. "We're asking where you live." He opened his mouth, then stopped. Through the kitchen door, I could hear Leah running water over the plates. Evan looked at the workbench, at the cabinet drawer with the slipped joint, at the silver key on his ring. Finally, he said, "I live here." Paige's face went still. "For 2 more weeks," I said. He turned on me. I had not meant to say it so sharply, but I did not take it back. Evan removed the silver key from his ring. He held it between 2 fingers, then placed it on the workbench beside my vise. "Then, maybe you should give that back to her," he said. He walked past Paige into the house. She did not pick up the key. Neither did I. Paige stared at the key on the workbench. "Pick it up," she said to Evan. He stopped in the doorway but did not turn around. "You took it off your ring," she continued. "You give it back." "I gave it back." "No. You dropped it where your father has to decide what to do with it." He turned then. "You want the key? I want you to stop making other people carry your decisions. That's a popular sentence in this house." "It should be." Leah appeared in the kitchen doorway behind him, a wet plate in one hand. "I'm not getting involved," she said. "I'm looking for the dish towel." "It's on the oven," I told her. "Thank you." She disappeared. Evan pointed toward the house. "See? Everybody gets to make some clever comment and walk away." "Then walk toward me," Paige said. He looked at her. "Say you want the apartment," she continued. "Say you want to live with me even if your tools stay here for 2 months. Say something that isn't about what Martin owes you. I want my wife to stop giving me tests. It's not a test. It has one right answer. Yes. I want you to want a life with me. I'm sorry that feels unfair." Evan's jaw moved, but no words came. Paige reached past me, picked up the silver key, and put it in her purse. "The door still opens," she said. "But I'm not leaving the key in a basket for you anymore." She went through the kitchen, thanked Leah for dinner, and left. Evan listened to her car start. "You had to say 2 weeks in front of her," he said. "I had to say it because you said you live here. You love that." "No, you finally got to be decisive." "I should have been decisive 2 years ago." He laughed. "There's the apology again." "It isn't an apology this time. It's a fact." He picked up the cabinet drawer and carried it to the far end of the garage. "You said I could use the bench." I said, "Keep enough clear for me, then use your half." He divided the space by setting a clamp in the center. I looked at the clamp, then at him. "All right," I said. He seemed disappointed that I did not move it. Leah was drying the last plate when I returned to the kitchen. She placed it in the wrong cabinet, caught herself, and moved it. "I heard everything," she said. I assumed. "Do you want my opinion?" "No." "Good." She folded the towel. "What's your opinion? That you were right about the 2 weeks and wrong about the timing." "I didn't plan the timing. That's what you always say." I leaned against the counter. "I'm getting tired of being analyzed in my kitchen. You should try being analyzed in somebody else's kitchen. That sounds expensive." She smiled and kissed my cheek. At the door, she looked toward the stairs. Evan had gone up without saying goodnight. "He'll make you prove it," she said. "The deadline?" "Yes." "How?" "By doing nothing." She left before I could ask whether that was an observation or a prediction. It became both. Evan did not pack. He worked longer hours, left earlier, and slept at the house every night. The green duffel returned to the hall closet. His shirts came back from Paige's apartment in a grocery bag and appeared in the upstairs dresser. He did not return the gray towel. On Wednesday, I found him in the garage eating a sandwich over an open box of hinges. "What's your plan?" I asked. "Finish these cabinets by Friday. I mean, after next Sunday." He brushed crumbs from his workbench. They landed on my side of the clamp. "I'm looking." "At what?" "Options. That's not specific." "You love specific now. Do you have somewhere to stay?" A guy on my crew has a room. For rent? What difference does that make? It doesn't. I'm asking whether it's available. Gus says it is. Have you told him yes? No. Why? Because I'm 41 years old and don't want to rent a room from a man who stores motorcycle parts in his bathtub. That seems reasonable. Evan looked up, suspicious of agreement. You have Paige's apartment? I said. No, Paige has Paige's apartment. She asked you to live there. She asked me to prove something. She asked you to choose. He folded the sandwich wrapper. Same thing, not always. He threw the wrapper into the trash can. It bounced off the rim and landed on the floor. Neither of us picked it up. What happened Sunday? He asked. You stop sleeping here, and if I don't? I haven't decided. So it's another bluff. No. What are you going to do? Carry me out? No. Change the locks? I'd rather not. His face sharpened. But you would. I want you to leave because I asked, not because I find a way to force you. That's convenient. It's what we have left. He looked toward the house. You know I could just refuse. Yes. You'd need months to get me out. I did not answer. I had no interest in turning my son into a legal problem, and he knew it. The fact that he had thought through how long refusal might buy him made my stomach tighten. He saw that too. I'm not saying I will, he said. You just wanted me to know you could. I want you to understand this isn't as simple as putting a date on a calendar. It was simple when the date was mine. He turned back to the hinges. I picked up the sandwich wrapper and put it in the trash. Thursday afternoon, Paige came for mail and the last of her bathroom things. She entered with her own key, not the silver spare, the regular brass key she had used for 2 years. I should give this back, she said. Not until you're finished. I'm finished. You have a bottle of shampoo upstairs. That's why I'm here. She went up and returned carrying shampoo, a hair dryer, and 3 unmatched socks. Those are Evan's, I said. I know. They keep migrating. She put them on the counter. How is he? She asked. Working. That wasn't what I meant. Ask him. She nodded. Right. I handed her the grocery bag with the clean gray towel. You saved it. It saved the floor. She touched the towel through the bag. He hasn't called since Sunday. I'm sorry. I can call him. You could. I'm not going to. That's your decision. She gave me a tired smile. You're getting annoyingly good at this. Leah says I'm uneven. She's right. Paige placed the brass house key in the basket. Don't let him use me as the reason to stay, she said. I won't. And don't let me become the reason you throw him out faster. I won't. He thinks if you change the deadline, it means you love him. I know. He also thinks if I let him come back without choosing me, it means I love him. I know. She lifted the bag. He makes love very tiring. So do I. She studied me. That was not an invitation to disagree. I wasn't going to. Before leaving, she looked toward the garage. The saw was running. Tell him, she stopped herself. What? I asked. Nothing. The back door closed. I stood beside the basket looking at the brass key. Then I carried Evan's 3 socks upstairs and placed them on his bed. Friday evening, the cabinet job was finished. Evan came in at 8 smelling of varnish and rain. I had made stew. He took a bowl and sat across from me. Client liked it, he said. The wall's still crooked? Always will be. We ate. After a while, I said, I owe you an apology I haven't given correctly. His spoon stopped halfway to his mouth. Which version is this? The one where I don't use the apology to make the deadline sound nicer. He lowered the spoon. I looked at the steam rising from my bowl. When you helped me, I thanked you for the task. The roof, the appointments, the water heater. I didn't ask what it cost you to keep being the person who noticed. And I connected the house to it, sometimes as a joke, sometimes because I thought it was a way to show you I trusted you. You did trust me. With things, not with the truth. He leaned back. I should have said I was lonely when you moved in, I continued. I should have said I liked hearing you and Paige upstairs. I should have asked you to stay for a clear amount of time instead of letting every repair buy another month. I wasn't buying months, maybe not consciously. His face hardened. I'm not accusing you, I said. I'm telling you I helped create an arrangement where you thought care led to ownership. That was unfair. You make it sound calculated. I don't think it was. You just said I was buying time. I said we built a system where both of us could pretend the arrangement was something other than what it was. And you get to end the system whenever you want. I get to end it in my house. He pushed his bowl away. There it is. Every apology ends there. Yes. Then what is the apology worth? It's the truth. Truth doesn't give me somewhere to sleep. Gus does. He laughed once. You talked to him? No. So now you're throwing a motorcycle bathtub in my face. I'm saying you have options you don't like. That is not the same as having no options. What if I choose Paige, then choose her? What if she says no? That would hurt. He stared at me. That's all? What do you want me to do? Call her? No. Offer you another 6 months? He did not answer. I understood then that he did not want a solution. He wanted me to remove the need for him to choose, just once more. I love you, I said. He looked away. I don't want you gone from my life. I want you living your own life. Convenient distinction. It doesn't feel convenient. He stood and carried his bowl to the sink. At the stairs, he stopped. When you said the house would be mine, I believed you. I know. I built around it. I know that now. You can't just say you were wrong and leave me with the cost. No. He turned. I forced myself not to soften the next sentence. But I can't pay that cost by leaving before I choose to. He went upstairs. Saturday passed with the sound of drawers opening and closing, but no boxes appeared. At 9 that night, I carried 6 empty boxes from the garage and placed them in the upstairs hallway. Evan came out of the bedroom. What are those? Boxes. I can see that. Tomorrow is the deadline. I know. You haven't packed. Maybe because I'm not going. The hallway seemed narrower than it had the day before. I rested one hand on the top box. Gus still have the room? Yes. Paige still have the apartment? His face changed. As far as I know. Then you're going somewhere. You think putting boxes outside my door makes that happen? No? What does? You deciding whether my boundary matters when you don't agree with it. He stepped closer. And if I say it doesn't? I looked at my son, at my hands in his face, at all the ways I had taught him that quiet meant negotiable. Then tomorrow, I said, we find out what kind of relationship we have left. He picked up the top box and threw it down the stairs. It struck the wall, opened, and landed flat in the foyer. Neither of us moved. Then Evan whispered, I'm sorry. He went down, picked up the box, and carried it into his bedroom. Tape tore upstairs at 1 a.m. I lay awake listening to it pull from the roll in short, angry strips. A drawer opened. Hangers scraped across the closet rod. Something heavy dragged 3 feet and stopped. At 2, the house went quiet. At 6:30, I found 12 sealed boxes in the upstairs hallway. Evan had written on them in the black marker, clothes, files, boots, more clothes. The last one said, things Dad will claim are his. I opened it. Inside were 2 extension cords, a flashlight, the missing scissors, my red travel mug, and a ceramic bowl shaped like a fish that I had never seen before. Evan came out of the bedroom. You opened it. My name was on it. That's not permission. The extension cords are mine. One is. Both are. The orange one came with my table saw. I bought it before you owned a table saw. He looked into the box. What about the flashlight? Mine. The scissors. Paige's. The mug. I picked it up. Mine. The fish? I don't want it. Then it's probably Leah's. We stood over the box. Take the mug, I said. I don't want the mug. You've taken it every morning for 3 weeks. The lid leaks. I bought the wrong seal. I know. I put it in the junk drawer. Universal? Yes. That's your problem. He took the red mug from my hand and placed it beside his boots. I removed the 2 extension cords and flashlight. We left the scissors and fish for a later court. Coffee? I asked. He shook his head. Have you called Gus? No. Have you called Paige? No. Do you want help carrying the boxes? No. I nodded. He waited for me to insist. I went downstairs and made coffee. At 7:15, the first box bumped against each stair. Evan carried it with his arms locked around the sides, unable to see his feet. Lift from the bottom, I said. I've got it. You're crushing the top. It's clothes. Clothes can crush. He reached the foyer and set the box down. Are you going to narrate everything? No. He returned upstairs. The second box was heavier. He stopped halfway. I took the lower end without asking. I said, I don't need help. I heard you. Then let go. You're on the stairs. I know where I am. So do I. For a moment, neither of us moved. The box rested between us, his hands on the upper corners, mine beneath the lower edge. Then he stepped down. We carried it to the foyer. After that, we moved the boxes together. The rhythm came back the way it had during the leak. Lift, turn, worn about the wall, adjust at the doorway. No thanks required, no debt created. At least that was what I told myself. Rain began while we loaded his truck. Not a storm, just a steady cold drizzle that darkened the cardboard before we could cover it. Use the moving blankets, I said. They have finish dust on them. The boxes are getting wet. The clothes are in bags inside. You bagged the clothes? Paige taught me something. We stacked 8 boxes behind the seats and 4 in the covered bed. His boots went on the passenger floor. The red mug fit in the cup holder. When the truck was full, he stood under the garage roof and looked at his phone. Gus is awake, I said. You don't know that. He works with you. He sleeps until noon on Sundays. Call Paige. He gave me a look. Sorry, I said. That was an instruction. You think? What do you want me to ask? Nothing? All right. He unlocked his phone and called Gus. The conversation lasted less than a minute. Hey, Evan said. That room still open? A pause. Yeah. Today. Another pause. No, I don't care about the motorcycle. He looked at me. The bathtub thing is temporary, right? Whatever Gus said made him close his eyes. Fine, I'll be there around 11. He hung up. There, he said. I made a decision. It sounds like the motorcycle is staying. Apparently it's an engine, not parts. Does that make it better? He thinks so. Evan put the phone in his pocket. The truck was loaded, but the garage still looked like him. Cabinet materials filled the shelving. Clamps hung from wall hooks. The exercise machine leaned folded beside his sawhorses. The workbench remained divided by the clamp he had placed in the center. He walked to it and ran one hand across the top. I'll start moving materials next weekend. You have 2 months. I heard you. I'm not rushing you. That's generous. It's practical. He began sorting loose drill bits into a case. I watched him fit each one into its slot. The bench was made from maple framing and a thick plywood top scarred by blades, glue, and years of dropped tools. Evan and I had built it the year he left Millbrook Cabinets and started taking his own jobs. He was 32, newly married, and certain that every kitchen in America needed to be rebuilt. We made the frame too heavy because neither of us trusted anything light. It took 4 men to move it into the garage, though Evan and I later agreed 2 of them had mostly supervised. My vise was bolted to the left corner. His name was written beneath the top in pencil, where no one could see it unless they crawled under. Take the bench, I said. He stopped sorting. What? When you find space, take it. I'm not taking your bench. We built it for your work. We built it here. That doesn't make it part of the house. He laughed quietly. You're giving me a workbench on eviction day. I'm not giving it because you're leaving. Then why now? Because I should have been clearer about what was yours. He looked at me. I touched the vise. This stays. Of course. The bench goes. It's a consolation prize. No, something so, you can say you didn't send me away empty-handed. You're leaving with a truck full of wet clothes and a fishbowl. It's not a fishbowl. It's a bowl shaped like a fish. Then you're doing fine. He did not smile. I rested both hands on the bench. When I told you this place would be yours, I put everything into one vague promise. The garage, the house, the tools. Whatever you thought caring for me was earning. I should have given you the things that were actually yours and kept my future out of it. So now you're making a list. I'm trying. The bench is worth money. That isn't why. Everything is worth money. Not everything is payment. He looked down at the drill case. This is? No. We built it together for work you were already doing. You've used it more than I have. It's yours. You don't get to decide that either. That stopped me. He was right. A gift could be another decision made for him. All right, I said. I'm offering it. I don't want it. All right. I turned toward the house. Dad. I stopped. He was still looking at the bench. If I take it, it doesn't mean we're okay. I know. It doesn't mean I agree. I know. It doesn't mean I forgive you. I know. He slapped the drill case shut. Stop saying you know. I'm trying not to argue with things you have a right to feel. Well, it sounds smug. I don't know how to do this in a way you like. Maybe there isn't one. Maybe. Rain ticked against the garage door. Evan leaned back against the workbench and crossed his arms. If I hadn't announced Cedar Glen at dinner, would you ever have asked us to leave? I had asked myself the same question and always stopped before answering. He saw the delay. That's what I thought. I don't know. Come on. I knew the arrangement had gone too far. I resented the machine in front of the window. I resented Paige labeling shelves. I resented your tools taking over the garage. You never said anything. No. You let us buy furniture. Yes. You let Paige turn the office into her workspace. Yes. You asked us to stay after your surgery. Yes. And then one Sunday, I say the wrong thing, and suddenly we have 6 weeks. You did more than say the wrong thing. I know what I did. His voice cracked, and he looked away. I waited until he faced me again. I like needing you, I said. He frowned. I didn't like admitting it. But I like that you were here. I like knowing you'd notice the filter, the tire light, whether I ate. I let you think that made this your home because I wanted what you were giving me. That's not what you said before. I wasn't ready to say it before. So you used me. Not on purpose. That's always your defense. No, it's not a defense. He rubbed his eyes with the heels of his hands. I built my business here, he said. Paige kept asking when we were leaving, and I kept telling her you needed us. I believed it. I did need you. Then why am I going? Because I need my son, not someone waiting for me to get out of his way. His hands dropped. That's not fair. No, it isn't the whole truth. The whole truth is you cared for me, and I accepted it selfishly. You also used that care to make a decision you wanted. Both can be true. Leah teach you that? No. Harriet? Harriet would have said it faster. He let out a breath that almost became a laugh. Then his face closed again. You're going to sit in this house by yourself and call that a victory. No. What do you call it? A cost. For who? All of us. He pushed away from the bench. I have to go. Gus can wait. You said I had to leave. I said you had to stop living here. I didn't say we couldn't finish talking. That's convenient. He walked to the truck. I followed him into the driveway. Rain beaded on his hair. He opened the driver's door, then stopped when Paige's car turned onto the street. She parked behind my truck and remained inside for several seconds. Evan looked at me. Did you call her? No. Paige got out without an umbrella. I called him, she said, before either of us could accuse anyone. Evan's face hardened. How did you know? You sent me a message at 3 a.m. that said, moving tomorrow, going to Gus's. I didn't ask you to come. No, you informed me. Apparently that's a family tradition. He looked away. Paige noticed the boxes in his truck. You're really going to Gus's. That's what I said. There's an engine in his bathtub. Everybody knows about the engine. I have an apartment. You have your apartment. I offered you a key. You took it back. You dropped it on a workbench. I was angry. So was I. Rain darkened her green jacket. She wiped water from her face. I'm not asking you to move in today, she said. I'm asking why you would rather sleep beside a motorcycle engine than admit you want to come home with me. Because it's not home. It could be. It's yours. You picked it. You applied alone. Because you wouldn't come. I know. The words quieted her. Evan gripped the top of the truck door. If I go with you now, it looks like he pushed me into it. Paige glanced at me. To who? To me. That's pride. Maybe I need some? No. You need a place to sleep and a marriage you haven't finished deciding about. He flinched. She stepped closer. I love you, she said. I'm still furious. Both are true. He glanced toward the garage where the workbench waited beneath the light. I need time. You've had 6 weeks. I had 6 weeks to leave him. I didn't know I was also supposed to solve us. Paige's expression softened, but she did not rescue him from the sentence. Go to Gus's, she said. If that's the decision you're making, make it. But don't call it something your father forced you to do. She turned to me. Are you all right? No, I said. Good answer. She walked back to her car. Evan climbed into the truck. Before closing the door, he looked at the garage. I'll take the bench, he said, when you're ready. He started the engine. Paige drove away first. Evan followed in the opposite direction. I stood in the rain until both cars were gone. Then I went inside and found the red travel mug still sitting in the cup holder of my truck. The mug was dry inside. Evan must have set it in my truck before loading his boxes, though I had not seen him do it. I carried it into the house, washed it, and placed it in the drying rack. Then I stood in the kitchen listening. The refrigerator ran. The laundry room fan rattled. Rain tapped the window above the sink. No one walked upstairs. I made one pork chop that evening. I ate it at the table, not over the sink. When I finished, I washed the plate immediately because there was nobody to notice whether I did. At 9, Paige texted, "Did he leave?" "Yes." "Where did he go?" "Gus's." The 3 dots appeared. "Is he okay?" I typed, "Ask him." Then I erased it. "No," I wrote. "But he made the choice himself." She replied, "Thank you." I wasn't sure which part she was thanking me for. Evan did not call that week. He came to the garage every morning before 7, using his house key and entering through the side door. By the time I got up, he was usually gone. A new gap appeared in the shelving each day as he moved smaller tools to Gus's garage. We communicated with notes. "Need the circular saw Thursday." "Fine. Leaving the clamps until I move the bench?" "Fine." "Did you take my tape measure?" "No. It was in his truck." On Friday, I left the red mug beside his tool case with the useless universal seal inside it. The next morning, the mug was gone. The seal remained. Leah came for Sunday dinner. I made too much chicken and 4 baked potatoes. "You know there are 2 of us," she said. "I know. You set 4 plates." I looked at the table. I had. "Habit," I said. She removed 2 plates and put them back in the cabinet. "Did you invite him?" I sent a message. "What did he say?" "Nothing. Did you invite Paige?" She said no. Leah sat down. "Then we have extra potatoes." We ate them. The next Sunday, I set 2 plates. Evan still did not come. At the end of the second week, he arrived at 9 on Saturday with a borrowed utility trailer and a man I assumed was Gus. Gus was in his 40s, shaped like a refrigerator, and wore a t-shirt with an engine diagram on it. "You Martin?" he asked. "Yes." "Nice bench." "Thank you." Terrible stairs. "You're thinking of the bathtub." He stared at me, then laughed hard enough to slap the trailer. Evan looked annoyed that we had spoken without supervision. "We're taking the bench apart," he said. I had already removed my vise. 4 clean bolt holes marked the left corner. Evan noticed. "You could have left it until today. I needed something to do. You could have damaged the top. I installed it, with my help. That's why the top isn't straight." Gus looked between us. "I'm going to inspect the trailer straps." He went outside. Evan set his socket case on the bench and began removing the bolts that held the top to the frame. I took the other side. We worked without discussing the week since he left. The top lifted after the final bolt came free. We set it against the wall. Evan knelt to separate the lower supports. His name was still beneath the bench in faded pencil. Evan H. The letters were surrounded by measurement marks and one arithmetic mistake he had crossed out so heavily it had dented the wood. He ran his thumb over the name. "I forgot that was there," he said. I didn't. "You never mentioned it?" "It was under the bench." He looked at me. "You could have said this was mine before everything blew up." "I could have. You could have said the garage wasn't. I could have." He returned to the bolts. "I told Gus I'd be out of his place by the end of the month," he said. "Where are you going?" "There's a duplex near the commercial strip. 1 bedroom, small garage. Enough for the tools, not all of them. I found a shared shop with 2 other contractors. That sounds workable. It costs money, I assumed." He waited for an offer. I did not make one. He tightened his hand around the wrench, then relaxed it. "Paige and I saw somebody," he said. I kept my eyes on the bolt. "A therapist? One of those couples counselors who asks how everything makes you feel. That's inconvenient. She likes her? Do you?" "No. That sounds promising." He smiled briefly. "We're not living together," he said. "Not yet." "All right. She thinks I need my own place before we decide anything." "What do you think?" "I think she's probably right." The bolt came loose. He sat back on his heels. "I lied at dinner," he said. I looked at him. "I didn't think of it that way at the time. I told myself you had agreed because you liked Cedar Glen. I told Paige it was settled, because I knew she wouldn't take the bedroom if she thought you were being pushed. And Leah? I told her you were considering it so she wouldn't call you. You chose different verbs." His eyes narrowed. "She told you that?" "At dinner. Right?" He rubbed his thumb over the wrench handle. "I had the whole conversation planned," he said. "The movers, the room, what furniture would fit. I thought if I made it sound finished, you'd be relieved somebody else had handled it. And if I wasn't, I thought you'd complain for a few days. That's honest. It's awful. Both can be true." He looked toward the open garage door. Gus was tightening a strap that did not need tightening. "I'm sorry," Evan said. Not because you made me leave. I'm still angry about that. I know. He gave me a warning look. I believe you, I corrected. I'm sorry I decided you were easier to move than to ask. The sentence hurt more than his announcement had. It was also the first apology that named the wound. Thank you, I said. That's it? What else do you want? I don't know. Neither do I. We removed the remaining bolts. Gus returned and helped us carry the top to the trailer. It took all three of us, and none of us admitted how heavy it was until we set it down. Built like a bridge, Gus said. We didn't trust light things, Evan replied. They loaded the frame next. Before leaving, Evan removed a brass key from his ring. He held it out. You can keep it until the tools are gone, I said. They're gone, the sawhorses, mine, yours. The exercise machine, definitely yours. He looked toward the folded machine. It won't fit in the duplex. Arthur might want it. Hot sauce, Arthur? Yes. You told him about me? No. Harriet? No. He nodded, accepting the answer. I took the key. He climbed into Gus's truck, then leaned out the window. I'll get the machine next week. You have 2 months. I don't need 2 months. I know. He closed the door. The workbench left behind a clean rectangle on the garage floor. I swept around it, then moved my vise to a smaller table near the window. The garage looked too large. I did not fill it. Evan rented the duplex. He sent me the address, but did not invite me over. I mailed nothing there because I knew where he lived and did not need to prove it. He collected the exercise machine the following Saturday. Arthur never heard about it. Paige continued living above the bakery. She and Evan had dinner twice a week and saw the counselor every Thursday. I learned this from each of them separately, which made me trust it. They did not ask me to judge their progress. I did not offer. Cedar Glen rented Unit 12 to someone else. Diane called to tell me because she said she did not want me to hear it from a card player. I'm not ready, I told her. That's fine. I may not be ready next year. That's also fine. The following month, I went there for cards. Harriet accused Arthur of cheating before the first hand was dealt. Arthur accused her of hiding cards in her sleeve, though she was wearing a sleeveless blouse. I lost $12 in quarters and drove myself home after dark. Evan would not have approved. I installed brighter lights along the driveway the next week. I also added a second handrail to the basement stairs. I paid a carpenter to do it, which bothered me for nearly an hour. Then I walked downstairs carrying a laundry basket and discovered how useful 2 rails could be. I sent Evan a picture. He replied, "Looks good. What did he charge?" I sent the amount. He wrote, "A little high. Some things were allowed to remain the same." Sunday dinners continued with 2 plates, sometimes 3. Leah came most weeks. Paige came once without Evan, then did not come again for a while because it felt strange to both of us. I kept inviting my son, not every Sunday. I did not want the invitations to become pressure disguised as affection. Once a month, I sent the same message. Dinner at 5:30. You're welcome. The first time, he did not answer. The second time, he wrote, busy. The third time, he wrote, maybe next month. Leah told me not to keep count. I'm not. You just listed all 3 responses. I have a good memory. You forgot Monday came after Sunday. That happened once. She ate 5 carrots. 3 months after Evan left, my phone rang at 4:40 on a Sunday afternoon. Are you cooking? He asked. I usually do. How many people? 2. Leah's coming. A pause. Is Paige? No. Another pause. Can I come? Yes. That's all. What else should there be? I don't know. A speech. I haven't prepared one. Good. Do you want me to invite Paige? No, I mean, not because I don't want her there. I want to come without making her responsible for it. All right, I can bring something. Bring rolls. He arrived at 5:20 carrying rolls from the bakery beneath Paige's apartment. He knocked. I saw his truck in the driveway and knew it was him, but I let him knock a second time before opening the door. Not as punishment. I wanted us both to feel the difference between entering and being invited in. Hi, he said. Hi, he held up the bag. Paige says these need 6 minutes at 3:50. She told you that? It's printed on the bag. Right. He stepped inside, but did not move beyond the kitchen until I said, come in. Leah arrived 2 minutes later. She hugged Evan hard enough to wrinkle his shirt, then pretended to be interested in the rolls. No one mentioned how long it had been. I had made pot roast. That choice had worried me all afternoon, but avoiding it felt more dramatic than serving it. I used a plain white platter. The cracked blue dish still sat on top of the refrigerator, clean and empty. Evan noticed it. "You kept that thing?" "It's retired. You should throw it away." "Maybe someday." He looked at me. I waited for the word to do what it used to do. Instead, he smiled slightly. "When you decide." We sat at the table. Leah cut a carrot into 6 pieces, then ate all of them. Evan reached for the potatoes before anyone passed them. I asked about the duplex. "The bathroom is normal," he said. "No engines, luxury. The garage is terrible. The shared shop is good. How's the bench?" "Too big. You can cut it down." "I'm not cutting it. It's a workbench, not a monument." "I know." He did not sound convinced. Halfway through dinner, he said, "Paige might come next week. She's welcome. She's not moving back here." I didn't ask. "I know. I'm practicing saying things before everybody has to guess." Leah raised her glass. "I support this experiment." Evan looked at me. "Cedar Glen?" he asked, still there. "You thinking about it?" "Sometimes." He rubbed his thumb along the edge of his plate. "If you decide to go, will you tell me?" "Yes." "Before the movers?" "Yes." "Will you want help?" "Maybe." He nodded. There was no urgency in it, no plan forming behind his eyes. "Okay," he said. After dinner, he helped me carry the platter to the kitchen. I reached for the sink, but he kept hold of the other side. "I've got it," he said. "So do I." For a second, we stood there holding the same thing. Then neither of us let go, and we carried it together.